Workers will not be delivering mail. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight, mostly clear skies, lows around minus 22 in Milwaukee, minus 30 in Madison, wind chills of 30 to 40 below zero. Tomorrow, increasing clouds with highs around minus 1. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Kroot.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Hump Day. Dominic, cold enough for you?
Oh, man, it's going to get real hot in here real quick, baby.
Big breaking news of the day. Dominic, this was incredible news. Saw it first at the Reuters. Reuters had done an interview with foxCONn. We all know the foxCONn. Woo! You know, one of the chief executives there at foxCONn. And the breaking news was no manufacturing factory in the state of Wisconsin. And I got to tell you, Dom, that blew up social media. Now, maybe it's the fact lots of people home off work today. We're working. We're doing our jobs. And a little bit later, I see a press release from the Evers administration top cabinet designee, Joel Brennan, you know, the guy from DOA. And he says, despite weekly contact with senior foxCONn officials, they're surprised with the developments.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprising. Now, if you're having constant, ongoing, weekly conversations and the administration is surprised, that's not a good sign. And then we see the Republican response, a joint presser, Fitzgerald and Voss. And they blame, what, the Democrats, Tony Evers?
I'm surprised it wasn't Jim Doyle's fault.
It's an anti-foxCONn, sentiment amongst us, the good blue. And therefore, it's our fault that this deal is suddenly blowing up. Or so the Republicans would have you believe. But now, Dom, now we've got the Business Journal reporting the very same woo. You know the guy who did the interview with Reuters? The foxCONn woo? Well, now he's saying the Reuters interview, well, that was taken out of context, Dom.
Yeah.
And it's fake news. Don't worry, Tony. Don't worry, Wisconsin. It's fake news. And within the hour, Dom, Scott Walker couldn't stay out of this little tip. He has thrown himself out there on the Twitterverse. And Scott Walker, at Scott Walker, says, foxCONn earned state tax credits based on actual investment and job creation. No jobs/investment. No credit, period.
I'm sure.
And I say
I'm
hashtag
sure
sad.
the folks that had their homes taken away for this huge 13,000 manufacturing job, it's gonna change the world here in Wisconsin. And now
foxCONn will help Wisconsin win the 21st century.
Did they need to take all the homes if it's just going to be an R&D facility? Really?
Now, what to believe, I'm not exactly sure. Certainly it will not be Scott Walker. He's the one that made the very political equation, this back-of-the-envelope deal with foxCONn. And foxCONN's got a history, Dom. Don't forget, they also pulled out on the Harrisburg, Pennsylvania deal that they said they were doing, and then there was an election. And you look at PolitiFact, and PolitiFact said, yeah, but that's not the reason foxCONn pulled out of the deal. Well, Republicans, you might want to lay this at Tony Evers' feet, but you own this lock, stock, and barrel. Fitzgerald, Voss, And, of course, Scott Walker, you own foxCONn. This is your boondoggle, and you've left the rest of us, the state of Wisconsin, perhaps paying the bill for the next 25 years. We'll get into all of this, and we got a fine guest on 2:30 today, Matt Flynn. He and the Devil's Advocates, we've been on the right side of foxCONn the whole time, and that was in the opposition. We are the resistance to foxCONn, because this was never going to be a make-sense deal for the state of Wisconsin. Now, Matt Flynn, I hope, has some alternatives, maybe some litigation. Maybe can reference the Evers administration to good outside counsel, and maybe we can get the hell out of this bad deal, Dom.
Let's get to the details, Crudy. Started out, I mean, this continues to evolve much like this foxCONn deal. The stories today regarding the deal are also evolving. We'll start at the beginning from Reuters. Foxconn Technology Group reconsidering plans to make advanced liquid crystal displays at a $10 billion Wisconsin campus and said it intends to hire mostly engineers and researchers rather than the manufacturing workforce the project originally promised. Let's see if we can find out where they took him out of context, Crudy. Announced at a White House ceremony in 2017, the 20 million square foot campus marked for the largest greenfield investment by a foreign-based company in U.S. history and was praised by President Donald Trump as proof of his ability to revive American manufacturing. Foxconn, which received controversial, I would say, state and local incentives for the project, initially planned to manufacture advanced large-screen TV displays for TVs and other consumer and professional products at the facility, which is still under construction.
Now, Dom, that was supposed to be 10.5 generation. And then we heard it was going to be 6G, right? And that's the size of the screen. And if you got these big whopping screens, well, those are harder to manufacture. And that's a bigger deal. And the smaller the screen, the less big a deal. So they've already talked about scaling down the size of the manufacturing plant from a 10.5 foot or G to a 6G, right?
Absolutely, Crudy. Now, for going from the large screen, Reuters reports it later said it would build smaller LCD screens instead. Now, those plans may be scaled back or even shelved. Louis Wu, special assistant to Foxconn chief executive Terry Go, told Reuters. He said the company was still evaluating options for Wisconsin, but cited the steep cost of making advanced TV screens in the United States, where labor expenses are comparatively high. Well, no kidding. You didn't know that when you started negotiating, when the requirements that Republicans put in front of you were $53,000 a year jobs? Now the labor's a concern?
Those are, relatively speaking, even Robin Voss at the very first press conference when they rolled out this foxCONn, and they did it rapidly, didn't want us, the citizens, to have public hearings, or at least very rapid public hearings, where foxCONn did not appear, and even then it was only going to be, on average, Dom, I think $15 an hour jobs. These were the well-paying jobs, about $30,000 per year. I think it's like the median job's going to be $53,000 because you throw in Terry Go's salary and it sort of lifts the boat.
Right. In terms of TV, we have no place in the U.S., he said in an interview. We can't compete. When it comes to manufacturing advanced screens for TVs, he added, if a certain size of display has more supply, whether from China or Japan or Taiwan, we have to change too. Rather than a focus on LCD manufacturing, Foxconn wants to create a technology hub in Wisconsin that would largely consist of research facilities along with packaging and assembly operations, Wu said. It would also produce specialized tech products for industrial, healthcare, and professional applications. He added, in Wisconsin, we're not building a factory. You can't use a factory to view our Wisconsin investment, Wu said.
Dominic, what about all the ancillary jobs we were promised as a supply chain to a massive manufacturing factory that was supposed to be, building LED screens? So this deal has changed completely. This is effectively nearly a 180 over the deal that Wisconsin taxpayers were kind of told about from the get-go. They're not even maybe going to build a plant, but Wu's got something to say, but let's jump into what the Evers administration had to say today. I've got that press release. Secretary-designee Joel Brennan responds to the Foxconn statement. He's over at the Department of Administration. This is Tony Evers' top cabinet secretary designee. Here's what is written, starting with a quote. The administration is in regular weekly communications with senior leadership at foxCONN. However, and this is a big frickin' however, we were surprised to learn about this development. Yeah, surprise, boys. While some of the information reported today has been previously reported publicly, other details about the continuing evolution of this project will require further review and evaluation by our team. Our team has been in contact with foxCONN since learning this news and will continue to monitor the project to ensure the company delivers on its promises to the people of Wisconsin. The governor has always said that protecting Wisconsin taxpayers, the local communities, have already made significant investments in this project, and our environment are his chief concerns. In the coming weeks, the Evers administration will continue to commit time, resources, and personnel to ensure the interest of Wisconsin workers and taxpayers are protected and promoted by our approach to the foxCONN project. Not exactly a "we're killing foxCONN" statement. Certainly wouldn't be prudent to do that today, but I hope it's in the works. I hope that's where their heads are at, Dom, because this is not the deal that they said they were making with us. And it changed the day they were breaking ground, right? The first time they broke some bad news to us, it was the groundbreaking day back in June. Trump came to town that day. You know, he was what? Boycotting Harley at the time.
I think we actually have some sound of that. Let's remind the people what Trump said. Cut 2.
18 months ago, this was a field, and now it's one of the most advanced places of any kind you'll see anywhere in the world. It's incredible.
It's still kind of a field, maybe with a building or two going up. It's really not that advanced right now, and it may not even come to fruition. Crudy, the Reuters piece concludes by saying this: the company may be prepared to walk away from future incentives if it is unable to meet Wisconsin's job creation and capital investment requirements, according to the source familiar with the matter.
Please do walk away, foxCONN. Make it easy. Otherwise, we may have to sue to eliminate this albatross from a generation of Wisconsin taxpayers' neck. We are the devil's advocates. We got to find guests coming. It is Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn, of course, former Dem Party chair. He ran for governor as a Democratic candidate, and he has been one of the most vocal opponents of Wisconsin making this god-awful boondoggle of a deal with foxCONN. Also, John Johnson, a research fellow over at Marquette University Law School's Lubar Center, is going to help us understand last fall's midterm elections in the state of Wisconsin. We have seen a real evolution in the vote totals. That will be in the happy hour. John Johnson joins us at 4:06. But this foxCONN, this evolving news on foxCONN, Dom, and I cannot wait to share with the audience what Voss and Fitzgerald have to say. This is all your fault, all you partisans. Your fault, Tony Evers. Couldn't be their fault. Tony Evers, the new governor, let's lay the blame for this breaking news at his feet. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. It's no big surprise that Scott Walker was absolutely freaking wrong, that this was some sort of a get me reelected political equation. And we do not know to this day how much money foxCONN funneled through WMC back to the benefit of Scott Walker, but I bet it was grand. Devil's Advocates, we're always grand. We're on the air. Join us here at 844-967-2789.
And how is your new company that's opening up there doing, by the way? Are they doing okay? That was a big one. foxCONN is moving along, right?
Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work.
Oh, there's a big surprise. That's an incredible. I think I'm going to have a heart attack and die from that surprise.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. That's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi folks, this is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009 or visit cclmanagement.com today.
911, what is your emergency?
My kid shot himself.
All right, where's the wounds?
911, what's your emergency?
Please help. My son shot his brother. I don't know the... Okay.
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns.
It wasn't locked.
Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
This dude is a clown, and the Republicans are traitors, regardless of whatever they say. The Democrats are one thing. I'm not a Dem, obviously, but the Republicans are traitors because they just wanted to win an election.
It will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know.
God bless you. Continue what you're doing, brother.
Thank you.
I love your show, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon on Real Resistance Radio.
60% of the time, they're right every time. Dom and Cruz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on YouTube and Facebook. We are on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the party line always open. Join the political party, 844-967-2789.
Dom, if we get it right 60% of the time, our track record's a hell of a lot better than Scott Walker and the Republicans that signed off on this foxCONN boondoggle. Once again, we'll have a fine guest, Matt Flynn, coming down to the Brady Street Studios at 2:30 today. But here is the chock full of lies joint statement made by Speaker Robin Foss and Scott Fitzgerald, the Republicans. Here's their joint statement, Dom. In a short time, foxCONN has made a positive impact across Wisconsin with more than 1,000 new jobs. Stop right there, Dom. Is that true?
Crudy, the very same Reuters article that we referenced in the first segment also goes on to say foxCONN fell short of the employment goal in 2018, hiring 178 full-time jobs rather than the 260 targeted, failing to earn a tax credit of up to $9.5 million.
So 178, something like that?
178 full-time jobs in 2018.
And the Republicans are claiming 1,000 jobs, so that's what, a rounding error? 178 rounds up nicely to 1,000.
I mean, maybe they're the road workers that were working on the roads down there. I don't know where they come up with that number, but it's not from foxCONN.
Well, Dominic, there's an investment of $200 million. I wonder if that's the taxpayers' investment in improving, the grounds, the roads for foxCONN. I read on 3 innovation centers and one of the largest gifts ever of $100 million to the UW-Madison. Now, I don't think that money's changed hands yet. And they also get to keep all the patents created.
Is that really a gift if you get something for it? I don't think that's a gift.
A little less philanthropic through that prison. Again, to the Republicans, this is freaking galling. We don't blame foxCONN for altering plans in the ever-changing technology business. It's also not surprising foxCONN would rethink building a manufacturing plant in Wisconsin under the Evers administration. The company is reacting to the wave of economic uncertainty that the new governor has brought with his administration. Like the federal government shutdown, that's Tony's fault.
Yes.
The tariffs, that's Tony's fault. The people in China not buying iPhones, apparently, that's Tony's fault. The company is reacting to, I read that part. Governor Evers has an anti-jobs agenda and pledged to do away with a successful business incentive for manufacturing and agriculture. Then why do we have to throw money at companies like foxCONN and Kimberly-Clark? And hell, wasn't it Tony Evers given $31 million to Marinette Marine earlier this week?
A successful business incentive that cost twice as much, over $300 million, more than you guys actually calculated it to be?
Well, that's only per year, Dom. $350 million per year. They're only burning $1 billion per 3 years so that manufacturing interests can effectively pay no taxes. That's just for you suckers, you working stiffs. Let me get the rest of this little presser out. It's disappointing to see Democrats rooting for the failure of Foxconn and trying to undermine this historic opportunity for our state, to build a plant or not build a plant, as long as the taxpayers are on the hook, right, Dom? Democrats don't want thousands of family-supporting careers. They want a political talking point. These are $15 an hour jobs. I remind people a little bit more here. From the very beginning, we looked out for the best interest of the taxpayers of the state. That's laughable. Not a dollar would be paid out until jobs at the Foxconn development area were created. The incentive package is based on fulfilling the contract. We will continue to work with Foxconn to help the company meet its repeated goal of creating 13,000 jobs in Wisconsin. Yeah, my repeated goal is to play in the NBA. It doesn't make it so. Again, the company has reiterated that this goal hasn't changed. Mine either. One more. Republicans, not, lawmakers, Republicans will do all that we can to keep Wisconsin open for business and the manufacturing and agricultural tax credit in place. The $1 billion giveaway for the millionaires and billionaires. One more line. This news only strengthens our commitment to Wisconsin. We aren't going to let our state move backwards. Moving Wisconsin forward, apparently, Dom. These lying frickin' Republicans, man, where do they even come off? 1,000 jobs? Come on. Stop pulling numbers out of your ass. That's way more than a rounding error. That's more than 5 times the number of jobs that Foxconn has actually created. And the only $200 million incentive I'm aware of is our money. We, the taxpayers, might be on the hook so far to the tune of $200 million. But I don't know where Foxconn's spending all this money. They bought a couple buildings, sure. But that's about it. They can sell the buildings. These are assets.
Man.
Folks, we are the devil's advocates. I don't think Republicans understand business like they think they understand business. Well, their business is really crony corporate welfare.
Yes, cashing campaign checks, Curdy, or funneling it through third-party groups. They do that very well.
Or, as they call it, looking out for Wisconsin's taxpayers. Come back with us, more Devil's Advocates. We're looking out for you, our audience. Got a fine guest next. He is Matt Flynn, former Dem Party chair, former Dem gubernatorial candidate, still a friend of ours. And he, like we, doesn't think that this Foxconn is a good idea. Why does anyone?
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio.
Everybody wanted Foxconn. I hate to say it, if I didn't get elected, they wouldn't be in this country. They would not have done this in this country. I think you know that very well.
Surprise, surprise, surprise!
Knowing your breasts can save your life. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Komen and the Ad Council. Knowing your breasts can save your life. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Komen and the Ad Council.
Live via phone, he is former U.S. Attorney Jim Santel.
Firing Bob Mueller doesn't mean that the prosecution, the investigation goes away. Pardoning one individual does not mean that you undo everything that has been done before. So this notion that somehow by shutting down and by pardoning and by sort of stopping the process, you're also stopping the wheels of justice is simply, again, it's simply wrong.
The Devil's Advocates, weekday afternoons on 1510 a.m. Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Hey, everybody. Did you know that Scott Walker's no longer going to be the governor? There's no joke there. I'm just really, really happy.
Real Resistance Radio, entering our terrible twos. Dom can't believe 2 years doing business in Milwaukee.
Crudy, the resistance lives on. Come join us for a party at the Roman Coin, 1004 East Brady Street, Tuesday, February 5th.
Free beer for all our adult friends, but you better get there early.
So join us at the Roman Coin, 5 o'clock Tuesday, February 5th, 1004 East Brady Street. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Ever worry that the anonymous millionaires are setting the agenda for our community with little or no accountability? I do. That's why I joined Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. My fellow members and I want to build a powerful and lasting progressive movement. Together, we can help determine the agenda in our own communities. Then we work with professional organizers and a team of leading strategists to make that agenda happen. We're working on health care, economic justice, child poverty, electing progressive candidates, and more. And our Radioactive campaign supports this station and the Resistance Radio Network. So, won't you come help us build a movement?
Become a member of the Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. Go to citizenactionwy.org.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. At a congressional hearing, Milwaukee Congresswoman Gwen Moore announced that she has been diagnosed with cancer, but that she is, quote, in great health with an excellent prognosis of living with this disease, end quote. The Congresswoman said she was diagnosed last spring with small cell lymphocytic lymphoma, and it's manageable with proper surveillance and treatment. And the plan to remove the chestnut grove next to the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts could be blocked by a new proposal to designate the property as historic. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. We have a wind chill warning in effect until noon tomorrow for Milwaukee, 10 a.m. tomorrow for Madison. Outside tonight, mostly clear skies, lows around minus 22 in Milwaukee, minus 30 in Madison. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's a Polar Vortex Wednesday. It's a breaking news Wednesday. Lots of breaking news about foxCONn and changes of plans. And we've got a guy we invited down. We appreciate him joining us in the Brady Street studio. He is former Dem Party chair, former Dem gubernatorial candidate, Matt Flynn, a guy who doesn't like the foxCONn, kind of like we don't like the foxCONn. Matt, welcome back. What was your gut reaction when you first saw the Reuters reporting that foxCONN's basically said, you know, we may never build a manufacturing plant in Wisconsin?
Right. This is the baldest breach of contract right to our face when Racine and Mount Pleasant are on the hook for more than $900 million in infrastructure, partially indemnified by the state. The state is on the hook for billions more, and these people have the guts to come out and say we're not going to do it. Now, here's the thing. Right now, two things have got to be made clear. One is the reason for that lame duck session is obvious. The Republicans have kept control of the WEDC till next September so they can change things and accommodate foxCONN any way they want, and that's wrong. But the second thing is foxCONN's plan all along had to come to the state at taxpayer expense, no risk to them, to get intellectual property, to vacuum up intellectual property from the University of Wisconsin, entrepreneurs, and they're boasting about it. This is not a manufacturing plant. They're going to come here for R&D, get it from our people, get rights to it. We're paying them to do that. And they're going to use Chinese engineers and Chinese robots. That is wrong. Our party, there are two kinds of dogs, porch dogs and hunting dogs. And our party, up till now, has not stood up to this fraud, and there have been porch dogs. We have got to get off the porch and fight this.
Let me ask you, Matt Flynn. Scott Walker tweeted out about 2 hours ago. I'd like you to comment on the gubernator's tweet, former governor's tweet. Foxconn earns state tax credits based on actual investment and job creation. No jobs investment, no credits, period. How do you respond to the governor and former governor and his assessment?
Yeah, that's not true. What's going to happen is there's infrastructure already occurred, roads and everything else, number one. Number two, he's referring to the fact that if they miss certain guidelines, there's a clawback. They're going to get money. There's a clawback. I have litigated those kinds of things. When you have we're not talking IBM here, okay? We're not talking General Motors here. We're talking foxCONn. Now, the idea of foxCONn and its people making good on personal guarantees or clawbacks is wishful thinking. Walker, I don't think, understood the contract. At our law firm, you wouldn't have let a junior partner do this kind of a deal by himself. No, you wouldn't have. And that junior partner knew a lot more than Scott Walker. I mean, this is a major deal, over $4 billion. I think Walker got snookered. I don't think he understands the contract. I would bet he's never read the contract. Somebody should ask him, have you ever read the contract? Like the Affordable Care Act or the Patriot Act. A lot of guys never read the thing. I don't think Walker did, and if he did, it would be like he's reading the Iliad in Greek, okay? I mean, oh, look at that. Somebody put some scratch marks on the paper. That's what's going on here.
Matt, Republicans, Speaker Voss and Scott Fitzgerald issued a joint statement claiming about 1,000 jobs. That was their number. We've seen it widely reported, 178 jobs. Foxconn didn't even meet their first threshold for incentive in 2018. Matt, can you imagine what jobs these Republicans claim Foxconn has created, or is this sort of a grab from ass numbers, sir?
Well, they were basically lying, and here's why I say that. When they had the WEDC and he was governor, they used to give grants to buddies, and those people would put up false figures on jobs. They would say, oh, we had 30 jobs or whatever. They were 3 years ago. They weren't created by this. So what's happening right now, there's nothing in the contract that says the jobs can't be for Chinese engineers. There's nothing that says that they can't be for Illinois people. They gave us the impression that they were going to bring in 13,000 jobs, good manufacturing jobs for people who weren't engineers, could make a living wage. That's what they were saying. Why would we give them $4.5 billion otherwise? And right now, why are Voss and Fitzgerald tap dancing on behalf of Foxconn? Trump is a Russian asset. Walker was a Foxconn asset. He wanted to give the impression that he knew what he was doing. He was a businessman. He wasn't a businessman. What he was he was a chicken walking into a negotiation with Colonel Sanders. That's what happened here.
Now, Matt, this may or may not have cost Scott Walker the election in some small part. These Republicans, maybe I understand Robin Voss embracing this backyard project. He figures any new jobs are in his backyard. That's still good for his reelection, for his speakership. But, Matt, overall, why do you think Republicans would continue to support and defend this plan? Is it just once you've made the bad deal, you got to be all in on the bad deal? Why do you think they would continue to double down and be all in on a bad deal?
There's two reasons. One is exactly what you said. You got to stick with who brought you to the dance. But the second thing is the same reason why Ron Johnson sticks with Trump on Russia, even though Ron isn't in a copper file video and didn't take any money himself. They don't exist if they're not on TV. They don't exist if they're not in office. And the minute any of these guys bucks it, you're going to get Diane Hendricks and the Koch brothers in, dump a few million into a primary, and they're toast. And they got nothing. They're unemployable, and the lights go off. They disappear. They have no existence. That's why they're doing it.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio. That's Matt Flynn. He's a former gubernatorial candidate and a former chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party, also an attorney against the Foxconn deal. Now, Matt, as this story has evolved, much like this deal has evolved, Foxconn apparently pushing back. Gail Klappa, who is the chairman of the and CEO of WEC Energy Group in Milwaukee, said Wu called Evers, again, this is from the Business Journal today, Wu called Evers Wednesday morning to give Evers assurances that the Reuters story does not represent the company's plans. And foxCONn themselves have issued a statement. We remain committed to the Wisconsin Valley Science and Technology Park project, the creation of 13,000 jobs, and to our long-term investment in Wisconsin. Who are we to believe?
Well, first of all, Gail Clapp is an excellent guy, an excellent CEO, and We Energies, his company, is one of the best companies in the state. So he is an excellent guy. foxCONn is not. We're not talking IBM here. We're not talking General Motors here. We're talking these guys. Now, if you translate what they said, and you translate, and I put out a tweet on this, it says we're coming here for IP, and there is nothing, it's an ambiguous contract. They did it on a napkin. Somebody like Walker wouldn't have even been in the room if this were a private law firm doing it. And, for instance, they'll say, we'll use best efforts. What does that mean? There's no guarantee. But I use best efforts. All right, well, 12 people can decide whether you use best efforts. Clawback. Yeah, we'll do this. I've litigated these things where a guy will take, he'll reincorporate his company into 5 tranches and put it all over the place. This is a bad deal for Wisconsin. Gail is a truthful guy, and he's simply saying, this is what they told me. I'm sure they'd tell anything. Did they tell him that they met their numbers the first time around? I mean, they didn't, okay? They did, and Evers, Tony, I like Tony, but Tony has got to get stronger here on foxCONn. He said, well, they understand the environmental part. They polluted the Yangtze River. What do you mean they understand the environmental part? We don't have, frankly, tough enough people on our side. We have timid, sort of feline party. That's the way this party has become. And they all fight over soft social issues and attack their own people, attacked Al Frank and all this. How about somebody getting up and saying, we're going to put an end to this criminal mismanagement of Walker?
But, man, it seemed quite apparent to me. I've been to a handful of Tony Evers press conferences since the inauguration, mostly when he's rolling out cabinet secretaries. And Tony is effectively in communications weekly with foxCONn, although they did admit to being surprised today. Matt, it seems to me like Tony Evers is embracing foxCONn. They were moving forward with this deal despite what the Republicans may claim. Tony Evers isn't setting, an anti-foxCONn environment. Hell, a guy like you or I might set an anti-foxCONn environment, but that's not what Tony's been doing, to my opinion, sir. Here's
the sad truth, and I'll just say it here. The enemy here is Trump and Walker, Voss and Fitzgerald, okay? But when you look at our team, Tony has flipped on the Affordable Care Act. He has flipped on voucher schools. He has flipped on funded taxes. He's flipped on the WEDC, and he's not standing up to foxCONn. He's embracing foxCONn no matter what they do. He's not a businessman. He was an education bureaucrat is what he was, and Walker and the rest are worse. The enemies are Walker, Voss, and Fitzgerald, but we need something a lot different coming out of the governor's office.
All right, Matt, what should that thing be? What should be different coming out? How do we, as a state, what legal mechanism can we use to get ourselves out of this deal? What can be done now?
There are 2 things that have to be done. I've put this out on Facebook, I put it on Twitter, and I'll repeat it here. There are 2 causes of action. One is breach of contract, and one is the unconstitutionality of this deal, all right? On breach of contract, that can only be brought by the governor's office or the attorney general. Private citizens won't have standing on that. The unconstitutionality would have to be brought by private citizens who have standing to do it in state court, because you can't very well have the attorney general going to court saying that a statutes I'm sworn to uphold are unconstitutional. So there should be 2 lawsuits. One should be immediately authorized by Evers, and the second is a private one. I've identified a great lawyer. There's plenty of other great lawyers as well. I don't care who it is, but it requires the governor to get on the phone to donors and say, we're going to fund this. Because if something is not done, breach of contract, unconstitutionality, they're going to suck hundreds of millions of dollars out of our budget for 15 years. They'll tap dance. They'll bring in Chinese engineers and robots, say they're employees. They'll fight over it. Maybe they'll take a haircut. I don't want that. And I made it clear. I'm the only guy that ran media, paid media against it. I'm the only guy that made it his primary opposition. And I think that helped the ticket and the general. I mean, I really did. People get it. But, now you have those state legislators on the Democratic side. Well, it's a bad deal. Well, yes, it's a bad deal. Yes, it very much is a bad deal. Why are we not bringing suit? And anybody out there who's listening to this, get on the phone. You can't call Republicans because they won't listen to you. They're afraid of primaries. Call the Democrats and say, get off the porch and go hunting.
Matt Flynn, I got to ask you, Scott Walker obviously killed the high-speed rail. And the biggest difference was the federal government was giving some of our tax dollars back, nearly $1 billion in infrastructure. And Scott Walker did not honor the deal made by Jim Doyle. He killed the deal, and the state of Wisconsin was subject to about $50 million in expense to Talgo, the company that was supposed to make the train cars. And I think California ultimately got our train cars. So, Matt, what would be a fair price, understanding the trade-offs approaching $5 billion the state could be on the hook between local and state combined? But, Matt, what is a fair trade-off if we break this deal, if we quote-unquote get out of this deal? I have every confidence that Scott Walker made this deal to the benefit of foxCONn. We're going to pay some price as taxpayers. What's a fair price to get out?
No, we're not going to pay anything as fair. Look, most people in this state and in the government couldn't find their rear end if they put both hands in their back pocket. So I'm talking to you as a corporate litigator, okay? If somebody breaches a contract, you don't owe them anything. They owe you something. So a breach is a cliff effect, all right? If they breach the contract, we get our damages back for what we did. They don't get jack. So what we say is you pay for all that infrastructure and you pay every nickel that anybody did for you. Now, let's be realistic. These things usually settle. So maybe they say, okay, we walk away and neither one does it. Well, think about that. Or maybe they say you pay a little bit. You know, I get it. It's settlement. But it is absolutely wrong to think the Walker thing is a bad analogy because Walker in that one was running for president, wanted to look like a conservative. So what the guy did is, turns out $800 million of our own tax dollars that went elsewhere, including to California, to look like a conservative, and that was a good contract, and he busted it. I'm talking about going to court and beating them on breach of contract and unconstitutionality.
And, man, you think we've got better than a fair chance, better than a coin flip of winning through litigation?
Yeah, I do. Absolutely, I do. I've talked to other experts in this area, and some of the counsel that I've set up, there's a guy named Dave DeBruin with the Honigman firm in Chicago. You know, undergraduate physics, MIT, Michigan Law School, top-notch intellectual property litigator, raring to go. I would associate him immediately. Josh Call, great litigator, Attorney General. I would have Evers call him up and say, sue for breach of contract. That's what I would say.
So do you think that's where we eventually see this go? Do you think we will see the governor take advice or something similar to what you're advocating for here? Matt, do you think that Tony Evers will try to break this deal?
Look, what do you think? You were a gubernatorial candidate yourself for a while.
I don't think he will.
I know.
I think he's,
look, are you kidding me? And I'm going to say something else. Tony at heart is a Rockefeller Republican, okay, at heart. In other words, he can't be a Republican today because a senator or governor today who's a Republican must be a sociopath, a character assassin, and a thief, or the base will reject him, all right? So Tony is a good guy. He's not going to do that. But Tony is trying to reach out to business and all this. That's great. But business can take care of itself. What we need is a governor who's going to stand up and say, I'm going to fight against that Affordable Care Act thing. I'm going to fight foxCONn. And businesses will do better with that kind of a government. Businesses in the stock market do better under Democrats.
Matt Flynn, stick around if you'd be so kind. The former Democratic Party chair, state of Wisconsin, a former Dem gubernatorial candidate. Matt Flynn, he's a friend of ours. He's live in the Brady Street studios. Got some more to talk to him about. Come back with us. You are listening to the Devil's Advocates right here on Real Resistance Radio, and we'll open up the phone lines. Anybody got an opinion about this foxCONn deal? 844-967-2789.
Months ago, this was a field, and now it's one of the most advanced places of any kind you'll see anywhere in the world. It's incredible.
foxCONN, el mejor trato en la historia de Estados Unidos.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean. Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
The Devil's Advocates.
Tom Perez, chair of the Democratic National Committee. You know, Tom, I didn't know you had all the Badger roots. I got a little hashtag I'd like to try it out on you. DNC MKE 2020, sir. What do you think, Milwaukee, for the DNC, Tom?
They are one of the cities that has expressed interest. Obviously, the new arena is going to be open and running by them, and I'm sure they will put forth a very, very credible package.
Well, Tom, it's nice that the stadium will be opening up, but also last year on the east side of Milwaukee, the Devil's Advocates and WRRD opened their stations on Brady Street.
Bring it home, Tom.
Wow. Amen. Well, I stayed up all night the night before my wedding, so I went out to a lot of watering holes not too far from there.
You're supposed to skip a night between the bachelor party and the wedding, sir.
I didn't get the memo. I wish we had done this interview 30 years ago.
Making radio great again. The Devil's Advocates, so relevant they have 1 foot in tomorrow.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, Real Resistance Radio. Matt Flynn sticking around in studio with us. Matt, thank you for your time and for sticking around. Before we move on to some other topics, I want to get your thought on this. foxCONn, this deal is now in its, third iteration of being sliced down, if you believe the reporting. First it was this big screen, then it was smaller screens, and now it's maybe an R&D hub. What about the people who had their homes taken away by this eminent domain? I mean, if this is not going to be 20 million square feet and 13,000 jobs and all this effort, and they don't need and use the space, what becomes of those innocent citizens who just wanted to live their time in their homes?
Well, here's the thing, and this is a shout out to Kim Mahoney if you're listening, because Kim and her husband are right in the middle of that thing down there. She's a real leader. A court can't go back in time. So we win this on breach of contract, they're going to have to pay damages for breaching the contract. And you got to be aggressive at these things. Now, if they've already done something that can't be changed, for instance, they've so scarred the whole area. There's a lot of people that aren't going to want to live there. You want to live in a, with nothing but plowed fields. So the other thing is sometimes title passes, legally, so they do it, and maybe they sell it to somebody else, an innocent third. I don't know where the status of litigation or the real estate is. So you pay damages. But what are damages? Say somebody says his house is worth $165 and they grabbed it for $125 and they wanted to stay there because their kid's in school. How do you compensate that? How do you compensate that your second grade son wanted to be, didn't want to go to a different school? It's a mess.
Yeah,
it really is a mess.
Real quick, Matt, and perhaps we'll take a few phone calls if you're okay with that. 844-967-2789. Tony Evers has found himself in a pickle a couple different times, perhaps a pickle of his own creation. Tony's gone out there and taken some bold stances and then had to backtrack on those bold stances. So here's my question of you, Mr. Lawyer Matt Flynn. Tony said he was going to withdraw from the ACA lawsuit, and it's a two-part question. First and foremost, what advice would you give to the governor of the state of Wisconsin about breaking the law? Because we know that the lame duck changed the law and basically stacked the deck against Tony Evers withdrawing from that lawsuit. So what about breaking the law? Let's start there.
Okay. Most laymen think that. The truth is there are two laws, okay? There is the law that the gerrymandered legislature put through. There's another law called the Rules of Professional Conduct that are put in by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. They are the law. One of the provisions of that is a lawyer is forbidden to persist in a case that has no good faith basis in law or fact, a frivolous case. Every expert knows this is a frivolous case, even though that trial judge took a dive. So what I would do as governor or as attorney general is I would bring a motion, and I put this in my Facebook posting, in the court. And I'd say, I am ordered by the Wisconsin legislature to break the law. I believe this is frivolous. It has no good faith basis in law or fact, and I don't want to sign a pleading and mislead you. So I'm asking you, Your Honor, to say that I should follow the Supreme Court rule. Put it in that court, not in the cooked Wisconsin court. Why don't we do that? Now, if the judge says, well, you lost at the trial, you won at the trial level, and so I'm not prepared to say at this point, I may in the future, blah, 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 you've at least tried. But when these thugs, they look like a Russian Duma. They sit there and they say, we've determined. Most of them aren't lawyers. Some of them haven't gotten out of college, and they're deciding this. No. Rules of professional conduct. You, the lawyer, decide. And I've decided. I've looked at these things before. It's frivolous. I'd bring that motion in front of the court.
Matt, second part of the question, is it irrelevant with 19 other plaintiffs whether or not Wisconsin withdraws from the ACA lawsuit?
Well, at this point, no, in a way, because it is what it is. Everybody knows it. Every law commentator in the country. It'll go to the U.S. Supreme Court eventually, and it really doesn't matter. But I think it matters for leadership. It matters for the integrity of our state, and it matters for the integrity of the election results. I mean, he campaigned on that. I campaigned on that. The people expect something. And the fact of the matter is that I think it matters for leadership.
844-967-2789. Let's grab some callers. Got about 2 minutes left. Chris from Sun Prairie, you are up. Thanks for calling, Chris. What do you got today?
Hi. Well, I just wanted to say thanks to Matt Flynn for actually standing up against foxCONn. I really do appreciate that. But I'd like to ask him to please stop throwing IBM and GM out there as examples of, good companies. My family's life was totally derailed by IBM. Back in '94, they left the Kingston plant in Kingston, New York. And everybody there, their life was just pulled out right from under them. I mean, our housing values went to nothing. We lost all equity in our house. We lost all of the friends that had become like our family because most of us had moved there for jobs after college. So I just don't think that they're very good actors, and I really wouldn't hold them out. GM's done some terrible things to their employees as well. You can watch Roger and Me by Michael Moore, and you can see what happened to the people. What's happening to people when these companies make these decisions is they ruin lives. Everything goes up. Every possible abuse you can think of, spousal abuse, child abuse, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, divorces go up, bankruptcies go up. This affects families for generations.
Matt, are there any good corporate people out there?
Well, first of all, I want to sympathize with the terrible thing you went through, Chris. I'm very, very sorry to hear that. Secondly, though, I would simply say this. No corporation is 100% pure, but there's a difference between foxCONN and American companies. There really is. The UAW is at General Motors, and they make good wages, and I have a General Motors car. I have a UAW-made car. So I think it's important to have this relationship between labor and industry.
Matt, you got a few more minutes. We got a few more callers that would like to get in a few more questions. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Hopefully, Matt Flynn and you on the phones at 844-967-2789.
If politics is boring, you're doing it wrong. Check out more at domandcroot.com.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
The NFL's big question. 30-car crash in a squall. I'm Mike Moss. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell was on the hot seat at the Super Bowl in Atlanta today. Correspondent Clayton Neville says Goodell had to answer questions about that blown call in the NFC Championship game.
The commissioner said the officials are human and that they aren't going to get calls right every time.
I've talked to Coach Payton, the team, the players. We understand the frustration that they feel right now.
Goodell said the league will consider its options on expanding instant replay, which currently doesn't include judgment calls. He says the play in question was one. He said at the same time, technology isn't going to solve all issues surrounding controversial calls. I'm Clayton Neville.
Courts have yet to resolve a lawsuit by Saints fans who want a do-over in the Rams game. A decision is expected before the Super Bowl. It's so cold in Chicago and the Midwest that correspondent Ryan Young reports people are being told to hold their breath.
You can really feel it on your skin. They're even telling folks not to breathe in too deeply because it could freeze your lungs. Yes, it looks beautiful, but the cold temperatures, once they set in, you really can't get out of them. So hopefully over the next 24 to 48 hours, we warm up just a little bit, but we know winter's punch is still hitting us pretty hard.
In Reading, Pennsylvania, police blame a snow squall today for a 30-car chain reaction crash. The Mueller Russia team says a Russian firm it accuses of funding a propaganda campaign to interfere in the 2016 elections was itself hacked by Russians who posted pretrial information from Mueller online. Correspondent Shimon Prokupez.
Some of these documents, as part of a disinformation campaign by the Russians, have been altered.
Meaning the documents are being used as more propaganda. On Wall Street today, the Fed got what it wanted. It is holding interest rates steady. Wall Street loves it. The Dow is up 436 points. I'm Mike Moore.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes, exclusively on Real Resistance Radio. Call in live at 844-967-2789 and give your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on local and national topics. Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon. It will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know. That's The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes on Real Resistance Radio. Always streaming live on realresistanceradio.com.
Real people. Apple says Facebook can no longer distribute an app that paid users, including young teenagers, to track their phone and internet habits. Correspondent Jan Johnson reports.
Apple says the program was designed for control of business-issued iPhones and not for what Apple says was the improper use by Facebook to track web browsing habits of its users. The so-called certificates offered by Apple give businesses the power to remotely install apps, monitor app usage and access, and delete proprietary data from business-owned iPhones. Instead, the tech news site TechCrunch says Facebook was paying users as young as 13 to install an app that provided deep insights into their browsing habits. I'm Jan Johnson.
A Bakersfield, California man is alive after a train rode over him. The man was sleeping on the tracks in the space between the tracks and the train. He was taken to the hospital and suffered no obvious injuries.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. A new report from Reuters says the foxCONN project may not happen as it was promoted. The report says foxCONN is reconsidering plans to make advanced LCD display panels at the factory now under construction in Racine County. The report is based on an interview with Louis Wu, Special Assistant to Chief Executive Terry Gao. According to the story published by Reuters, foxCONN, quote, said it intends to hire mostly engineers and researchers rather than the manufacturing workforce the project originally promised, end quote. Outside tonight, mostly clear, lows around minus 22 in Milwaukee, minus 30 in Madison, wind chills of 30 to 40 below zero. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Our fine guest has generously agreed to stick around. He is Matt Flynn, former Dem gubernatorial candidate, former chair of the Democratic Party of the state of Wisconsin. Thanks, Matt. Let me reset briefly for our audience. Big foxCONN boondoggle news today. First of all, Reuters reported that foxCONN's Wu said no manufacturing plant in Wisconsin, perhaps. And the Evers administration admitted they were surprised. I think they were caught a little flat-footed. The Republicans, by contrast, turned around and blamed the Dems and Tony Evers. It's your fault. And now the Business Journal is reporting that Wu, the very same Wu that was quoted in the Reuters piece, is saying it's all fake news. And, of course, they're going to do the right thing by the state of Wisconsin. Why are we so worried, Matt Flynn? Matt, why should people be worried?
This is not a precise contract. If you read it, the clawback is very ambiguous. Use best efforts and all this kind of stuff, and the political establishment is supporting them. And I think that's wrong. This is not a crisply worded contract. The people that negotiated had no business doing it. They didn't have the ability to do it.
We've got some callers, 844-967-2789. This is a rarity, but it's a polar vortex. We're changing our plans, kind of like foxCONN, and we're taking some phone callers for the guest. Let's start with Joe from Cedarburg. Joe, welcome to the Devil's Advocate. Say hi to Matt Flynn.
Hi.
Yeah, hey, Joe.
I have 2 questions for Matt. The first one, I'll be quick with them. Who in the state government could explain to the public what happens if there's only 1,000 employees or 500 employees? I mean, because it's very complicated, as you said. Who could say with clarity how this works? And the second thing is, who can explain to the people of Racine and Kenosha what happens to them? So that's a question. Who can explain this? And then the other question I have is on the WEDC, which runs the show here. The WEDC board is able to amend this contract. And I wonder if there shouldn't be an effort to urge the WEDC board not to amend the contract without getting a bipartisan support? Thank you.
Two excellent questions. On the first one, the Republican Party and Weedick don't have a clue on how to explain this contract because they got taken to the cleaners. So I'll explain it just right now. And that is that a very, very minimal production of jobs that could be Chinese engineers will trigger a large and disproportionate payment. And that's very concerning. The second thing that I want to say, though, is about the amendment. The reason for the lame duck session to take this out of Tony Evers' hands till September was precisely to manipulate and defend breaches of contract against us. The Republican Party will injure this state to benefit their donors and to appease their large donors so they don't run primaries against them. Now, so what to do if they did that? If they tried to amend it and say, we'll give you $4.5 billion, and by the way, you only have to create 50 jobs, at some point, somebody in this administration has got to get off the dime and start action for breach of contract. Period. End of story. The final thing, in Mount Pleasant, Racine are on the hook for over $900 million. $900 million. The tax base down there can't support $90 million. It's a small tax base. And the people of Racine, everybody says, oh, they want this thing. They don't want this thing. I saw the citizens at the Mount Pleasant board meeting. I've spoken in Racine, and nobody wants this thing. And I think that the people down there that voted for it, Democrats, made a mistake thinking that that's what they wanted. But we're all Americans. We're all Wisconsinites. The Chinese come over here, try to get our intellectual property. We're not putting up with it.
Matt, got to ask you, two independently elected constitutional officers. Tony Evers is, of course, the governor. But doesn't Josh Kaul have some say? Could he file a lawsuit against Foxconn independent of Tony Evers or independent of the administration? Or is that just kind of bad politics and bad juju, Matt?
No, theoretically he could. Here's one thing. I mean, I'll just throw this out. The Republicans set it up so sneakily that the contract is Weedick and not the governor. Now, I would argue the governor can do it anyway. Scott Walker made a mistake. When he signed the contract, he didn't have to, but he put his name on it. So if I'm Scott Walker, I'll say that means he's part of the contract. I'm his successor. I can do it. If Scott Walker, or strike that, if Tony Evers doesn't want to do it, and Josh Kaul did, if I were Josh Kaul, I would still think I could do it. But, you know, in fairness to Josh Kaul, I mean, you know, you want the governor's support on this thing. But if the governor is unwilling to sue Foxconn, and that's the flat-out fact, unwilling to sue them, then I think Josh is in a tough position, quite frankly.
Could the WEDC sue?
Oh, absolutely, in a heartbeat. WEDC is Republican-dominated.
Right now
like
they
saying,
are. Certainly they are.
Yeah, is the GOP going to sue them? No, it's not. Now, next September, if Tony starts to make some changes, yes, they can. But look between now and September, some mischief, some chicanery, some slyness, some crookedness on the part of the Republican Party.
So you're saying business as usual, then, man.
Well, yeah, I'm being redundant. Yes, I'm being redundant. So.
Let's take at least one more caller for our fine guest, Matt Flynn, a former Dem gubernatorial candidate, former party chair of the Democratic Party of the state of Wisconsin. Next up on the phones at 844-967-2789 is our pal Pete from Milwaukee. Welcome back, Pete. Say hi to Matt Flynn.
Hi, Matt. How you doing? I voted for you in a number of elections. What's going on?
Hey, Pete. Good. Yeah, I just happened to be walking down Brady Street. There's a guy here with long hair said, you want to get warm and come in on the radio? It was Dom. It was Dom.
So Let's talk some trash on the radio.
I called up the governor's office, and I expressed my concern that we are in this deal and that we should get ourselves out of it. And the lady who answered the phone was very gracious, and she said, well, yes, I understand your concern. We're hearing a lot about it today. And so we will take everything into consideration, and thank you for your call, and have a great day.
Good. Keep the calls up. Keep the social media up. Keep the pressure on.
Right on.
Right on.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, Pete. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, Pete. So, Matt, you know, as you mentioned, there's a couple of ways that, you know, legally to go after this, and I just want to reiterate. I guess, you know, we could have Tony Evers file some sort of thing. We could have
real quick before you jump in with another question. Can I recommend a couple of other phone calls for our audience?
Oh, please do.
How about Speaker Robin Voss? Everybody, write this down and start dialing 608-266-9171. Or Senate Majority Leader, Republican Scott Fitzgerald, Fitzy, 608-266-5660. And if you do want to let the governor, Tony Evers, know your displeasure, any of your comments, please consider calling 608-266-1212.
So, Matt, again, to reiterate, the government can sue for breach of contract, and that could be done by a couple of different parties, right?
Well, we could. I think the governor could, too.
And perhaps the attorney general as well.
Right, but I mean, Josh is going to want the governor supporting that one.
Yeah. And he also mentioned that a citizen perhaps could come forward as call this deal as unconstitutional. What would a citizen need besides a pocketbook or maybe a good attorney to have standing in that kind of case?
Nothing. If they pay taxes, that's it. In state court, in federal court, a taxpayer may not have standing. In state court, they do. Problem is, at the top of the state court chain is the Wisconsin Supreme Court, which is somewhat Republican. But I think that a taxpayer, and we've already had meetings on this, to put together taxpayers who are willing to lend their names, and the cost is not as great as people think. But unless we do a GoFundMe or a crowdfunding or something, there's got to have support. And if Tony Evers is not supporting that with his donors and so on, and the infrastructure of the Democratic Party, frankly, I'd like to see labor support it. I'd like to see the SEIU support it. I really would. They talk a lot. Let's have them do a goddamn thing. I'd like to see the AFL-CIO support it and just say, yeah, we do want that because we don't want $300 million a year for 15 years going out when it could go to education.
Matt, is it because of the disparate treatment of this foreign corporation, foxCONn effectively treated differently in the eyes of the court per the deal than any other corporation in the state of Wisconsin? They get a pass on the appeals court, don't they?
Yeah.
Would that in effect be a rationale for suing for the unconstitutionality of the deal?
Yeah, well, two separate issues. Breach of contract, none of that applies. They breached the contract, and that's what the governor can and should do. Unconstitutionality, there are several things, but what it is there is a law, a rule of law that says you can't pass a statute to benefit one person or company. It has to be of general applicability. They can't just say that somebody doesn't have to pay taxes, that kind of thing. Now, in this case, and that there's some maneuvering around that, but in this case, they say, and they have a fancy name, let's just call it an investment district, a gigantic investment district. Yeah. Doesn't have to go to the Court of Appeals, doesn't have to obey wetlands, doesn't have to file environmental impact statement. But then they say, by the way, there can only be one investment district in the state, and we've already made foxCONn that. They say they're so clumsy. These people are not the sharpest swords in the regiment, okay? They're just not.
So they're trying to get a workaround to that specific law by creating this one area that this law applies to.
But there's a form and substance issue. And if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it is a duck.
Now, what about cost of litigation and something like this? Say all the right citizens get along. The devil's advocates are with you, man. We're down. We're going to do a GoFundMe. We're not confident that the Democratic Party or the players here are going to do something. We have to do something. What do you think it would cost?
Okay. The quote I've had, and I would not be handling this litigation, is a quotation from a very, very good lawyer is roughly $300,000, which is pitifully small for this kind of constitutional litigation, and I would recommend him highly. Dave DeBruin, undergrad physics, MIT, Michigan Law School, one of the top-notch IP litigators.
Man, I've always thought this foxCONn deal was about access to Lake Michigan water. Quick question, sir. Do you think the Great Lakes Compact, could one of our other Great Lakes Compact signees, could they be the ones to sue the state of Wisconsin? Because this deal seemingly was a workaround on the Great Lakes Compact as well.
Right. Two things. One is, yes, but they were all Republican governors up to this election, so now maybe they can't. Number two, believe it or not, Walker and his captive DNR said that foxCONn, you know where it is, right, is in the Mississippi Basin, not the Great Lakes Basin. That's what they said. That's what they said. And therefore, they didn't have to go through it. I think if we want a real aggressive governor in Tony Evers, I'd come out and I would say that's baloney, and I'd start being environmental governor. And you're absolutely right. They came here to get Lake Michigan water. We've given it to the Chinese and paid their expenses, is what we've done, as well as their intellectual property. That's how stupid the Walker administration was.
Matt Flynn, you've been a fine guest. Anything else you think our fair audience, the great people of the state of Wisconsin, should know about foxCONn or anything else on your mind, sir?
Well, let's fight for our state. I mean, these people in 8 years have vandalized our state, and we have environmental issues in the Wolf River and so on, financial issues. So we have got to be hunting dogs, not porch dogs. We are fighting an enemy, and we have got to get up there and do something and mix it up. And so far, the Democrats in the legislature haven't done it. The administration hasn't done it. And somebody's got to do it, and I'm getting that message out right now.
Matt Flynn, a fine guest, former Democratic Party chair in the great state of Wisconsin, a former Dem gubernatorial candidate, and a neighbor down here on Brady Street. Anytime you're walking around, Matt, you need to come in, warm yourself,
I get cold.
up the Dom. You do what you got to do, Matt. There's always a warm welcome for you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Devil's Advocates today.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Folks, we are the Devils. Join us on the phones. They're wide open for you. 844-967-2789. Real Resistance Radio. We'll be right back.
Got your world locked up inside a plastic box. She the 20th century
foxCONN will help Wisconsin win the 21st century.
Thank you, Mr. foxCONN.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. It's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Real Resistance Radio entering our terrible twos. Dom can't believe 2 years doing business in Milwaukee.
Crudy, the Resistance lives on. Come join us for a party at the Roman Coin, 1004 East Brady Street, Tuesday, February 5th.
Free beer for all our adult friends, but you better get there early.
So join us at the Roman Coin, 5 o'clock Tuesday, February 5th, 1004 East Brady Street. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella, Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. We provide 99.999% uptime. That's the highest availability and performance you can get. You have enough to worry about with your business data, web, security, and cloud services, so we'll manage your IT so you don't have to. Visit 5nines.com. That's the number 5nines.com.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on YouTube and on Facebook. We are on Twitter at Devil Radio, on the party line, 844-967-2789.
You know, there is a social media post, I believe it's on Twitter, our pal and co-broadcaster Jocasta Zamaripa, she put up a picture. She said, actual footage of me going to the Capitol today, and it's from Star Wars. It's like Mark Hamill on a bantha. And Mark Hamill liked the tweet.
Oh, yeah, I know, Shane. And The Empire Strikes Back when they're on the ice world of Hoth.
I have to make a correction.
Thank you.
That's a tauntaun.
Yes, Tauntaun.
Oh, Tauntaun.
Sorry.
My bad. Well, here's the important part.
Before you reach the first marker.
They'll see you in hell.
Luke Skywalker retweeting our pal Jocasta Zamaripa.
Nice.
It's all good.
Welcome to the big time, Jocasta.
She's kind of a big deal.
844-967-2789. Thank you, Matt Flynn, our most recent guest. Kind of a big deal. You can be a big deal if you join us on the phones like Paul from Milwaukee. Hey, Paul, welcome. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Paul.
Sorry, I missed Matt. I was going to ask him a question, but I can ask you two very intelligent.
Yeah, we got answers, man.
Absolutely. So we hear two sides of the story. Terry Gao is interviewed by Reuters, right?
Yep.
And he says all this stuff, and he has all these quotes. And then Terry Gao comes back and says, "Oh no, I didn't say that. No, that was misquoted." So what's going on here? Is he playing both sides of the game? Is he playing stockholder?
Don't you think, Paul? I mean, we don't know what the true motive is, but when you get quoted by Reuters, I think his name Wu, but when Wu gives an interview to Reuters and tells Reuters, we're not building a manufacturing plant in the state of Wisconsin, and then you come out later and tell the Biz Journal, no, what I said earlier, that's fake news. Well, is it or isn't it? And I think they have a track record, Paul, of being terrible. They don't carry through on their commitments, just as the people in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Absolutely. And my thought is, Terry Gao, you can buy foxCONN stock, right? Is that right? Is it on the stock market?
Interesting question. I'm not sure if it's publicly traded. I thought it was valuated at over $1 trillion, though. That's a lot of jing, or yen, or rubles.
So is he playing all the people that are really interested in, what's going on in this particular industry, and then coming back to Wisconsin and just, spewing some more lies and letting the gullible Voss and Fitzgerald fall for it, and then they turn around and blame Evers?
Well, I don't think they Paul, do you think the Republicans sincerely fell for this? Or are they part of the conspiracy? Are they part of the corruption? I think it's probably the latter. I don't think they're naive. Robin Voss never struck me as naive. This was purely a political decision made, and maybe, just maybe, they thought they'd also benefit their friends over at WMC, because let's not forget, they're the biggest contribution block to Republicans. Well, now you're playing their tune. You brought another big manufacturer in, supposedly, to pay dues to WMC that get churned into campaign contributions for Republicans. They always knew what the deal was. The deal wasn't about the jobs. The deal was about funding the re-election campaigns of Republicans, Paul.
Right. So tell me something. Why... Did you see that one Wisconsin blog piece about what did Voss and Fitzgerald know before the lame duck? They passed that lame duck regarding foxCONN. They're insinuating, they're suggesting that there's something fishy going on in this lame duck, and they knew about what was going to come down with foxCONN. Did you read that by any chance?
Well, I didn't see One Wisconsin Now's version, but I certainly believe. And they are a great Oppo research group, but let's not forget foxCONN was pretty transparent. They came to the state of Wisconsin in June of 2018 for a groundbreaking. Trump was there, and Walker was there, and Mr. foxCONN was there, right? And all of a sudden there was some new news, Paul. Suddenly that 10.5-foot screens, these massive screens that could only be built in certain manufacturing plants, well, they weren't going to build those anymore. So, yeah, we've known at least since last summer that this was a shifting deal predicated on a foundation of sand and made on the back of a freaking cocktail napkin by a college dropout governor of the state of Wisconsin that only cared about his own electoral re-election chances.
Shifting or shifty?
Well, he's both. We are the Devil's Advocates. You can join us on the phone. Be like Paul and another Paul. Call 844-967-2789.
Do you want to be a winner? All the winners I know like the Devil's Advocates Facebook page.
Will there be a lawsuit? Yeah, probably.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy59s.com.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your best man, your worst man. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Well, I'm going to take a nice long rest now. I can stop rolling over in my grave now that Walker is no longer governor. Thank you, Real Resistance Radio.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
I am sick and tired of big power brokers telling voters what's important instead of the other way around. So I joined the Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. It's a community of like-minded local progressives where the members help determine what issues are important. And with the aid of professional organizers and some of the top progressive strategists in Wisconsin, we make the powers that be take notice and action. We're working on fair elections, the climate crisis, immigrant rights, electing progressive candidates, and more. Plus, we have a campaign called Radioactive that supports this station and Real Resistance Radio. So, come help us reclaim our power as voters.
Become a member of the Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. Go to citizenactionwy.org.
The Devil's Advocates.
Doug from Cudahy.
Right around the time of the uprising, I found you. I started listening, and 2 years later, after I signed the recall and voted, we went out to sing along with the singers on my birthday. And they were so cool, and it's one of the greatest memories that I had. And ever since I started listening to the Devil's Advocates, I have been woke. I haven't missed one vote since. You guys have really done wonders for our community, and I'm just so happy you're on the air.
Making radio great again.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The Milwaukee and Madison areas are under a rare wind chill warning until noon tomorrow for Milwaukee, 10 a.m. tomorrow for Madison. Wind chills of 30 to 40 below zero are forecast for tonight and tomorrow morning. The National Weather Service is warning people to avoid taking deep breaths and minimize talking if you have to go outside. And due to the extremely cold weather, most of the schools in Wisconsin are closed today. Many businesses are closed, and postal workers will not be delivering mail. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight, mostly clear skies, lows around minus 22 in Milwaukee, minus 30 in Madison, wind chills of 30 to 40 below zero. Tomorrow, increasing clouds with highs around minus 1. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's a polar vortex, but we're heating up the airwaves right here on Real Resistance Radio. Always appreciate when you join the greatest radio show ever. Just call or text 844-967-2789. Dom, we will get to the phones and our buddy Wisco Paul in just a moment. But first and foremost, I got some breaking news everyone should hear about. The breaking news, and this one, a little message. Outside Scott Walker's new rental condo in Milwaukee, someone left the former governor, someone left Winker a message in the snow. And no, it wasn't in urine, but it should have been. The onmilwaukee.com reporting a snow message for Scott Walker. I'll tell you what it is at the very end. After a snowfall, and we've had a few of those lately, some folks like to get into literally with sledding, angel making, face planting, yes, this is a thing, or message writing. The latter was the case recently when someone inscribed a snow message in front of Scott Walker's new condo right on the Hop line in downtown Milwaukee. This photo with the headline, "So Scott Walker moved into our building and someone made this," appeared on Reddit. And the message, "F you, Scott Walker." It's beautiful. Out in the fresh snow, just someone footed it out, made the big message. And the F you, gigantic. Much larger than the Scott Walker. But, looking down from his rental condo on High Dom, I'm sure he gets the message every day when he looks out the window. He's begging for more snow.
They can go suck lemons.
Wipe the slate clean and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
844-967-2789. Well, as an active protest, this is just a small thing. I think it's a wonderful thing, perhaps the best news I've read all day. Well done, sir or ma'am in Milwaukee. Well done.
That
wasn't you, was it, Dom?
No, it was not me. I got to be honest. I don't know if I'm that dedicated in my criticism to go out in the cold and stomp out F you, Scott Walker. I guess I'd just rather do it on the radio.
Buddy, I'd do it in urine if I could.
Now, if only we can get a speaker out there in front of it so he has to listen to this radio station every single day.
You mean between his ever so busy day of puttering and tweeting out every 3 to 5 hours? By the way, the label on the onmilwaukee.com says, "Yikes, that's not very neighborly."
Most people get like a cake brought over or cookies or something. Let's get to the phones. 844-967-2789. Wisco Paul, you are up. Thanks for calling, man. What do you got today?
Hey, Paul.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Devils. How is Tony ever going to fix all this? You got the roads at $2 billion. They're a mess. You got the lawsuit against the Affordable Care Act. That's a mess. No Medicaid money. And then Bob, if I got this right, he's using state money to fight his battles. And now you got foxCONn. And then the GOP turns around today in the Sentinel and blames Tony for it.
I know, man. It's great. Well, Paul, here's the lesson learned from, I think, from this is that Evers should be as aggressive as he possibly can on every single front. Because the Republicans, no matter what happens, they're going to blame him anyway. Now, it's one thing to go out there and be civil of, dealing with your political rivals, but his actions should be extremely aggressive because these Republicans will never let up and they will always blame him.
Wisco, Paul, I wouldn't be surprised if Fitzgerald and Voss pushed Tony Evers down into snowbank. That wouldn't be as surprising at all. Physically push the guy in a snowbank.
Face wash.
Take that, total bully fashion.
No, there's no working with Voss and Scott. Not happening. I mean, I don't even, maybe the road, hey, on the high side, or if there is a high side,
there's a high side every day about 420, Paul, but please continue.
Okay, this should end Walker's political career in the state, I would think, don't you? I mean, how is he ever going to recover? I just rattled off some of the mess. I didn't even hit all of it. I mean, hey, thank you, guy, for going down there and whatever you did in the snow for Walker. You deserve that. I don't even know how the man can look himself in the mirror and live in Milwaukee, for God's sake.
You know what Walker tweeted out, Paul, since we've been on the air? Was out this morning at an eye doctor appointment. Apparently he couldn't see what was in the snow, needed some new glasses. What I wouldn't give for some global warming today! Exclamation point. Chilly emoji. Minus 21 in Milwaukee, he lists.
Come on. Little
Trump
Jr.?
You know what warms me up, though, Paul? He's looking down from the window, seeing the F.U. Walker in the snow. That will be there for days. I don't see any new snow in the forecast.
Thanks for
You're welcome. Thanks for taking
All
my
right.
call.
Thank you, Paul. Always appreciate it, man. 844-967-2789. You know, Walker just wants to get a quick pickup football game down on that field, pound over that message. Cover it up.
Dom, that's the second tweet in the last 4 hours from Scott Walker.
Oh, he's working hard today.
Just mentioning the temperature in Milwaukee.
Nothing like talking about the weather.
Cold enough for you? 844-967-2789.
Hey, Walker, I dare you. I double dog dare you. Stick your tongue on the pole, man. See what happens.
Welcome to the show, Philip from Waukesha. Welcome back, Philip. How you been, man?
Hey, nice and cold, but good news today. I was very happy to hear this. Since 99 and 9/10% of all your listeners knew this was going to happen sooner or later. And I just want to make a comment, and then I have a question for you when I'm done. My first comment is that, as alluded to a few minutes ago, the Dems, and especially Tony Evers, has to be all over this every time he opens up his mouth and really dig in there. That says that this is Boston Fitzgerald, this is their baby since Walker's gone, but they push for this. They're totally 100% responsible for this, and the people of Wisconsin have to be reminded that this is a Republican boondoggle for the next election, so we can get this trash out of our state government. And of course, it's already all over national news. They've got people that have written books about the fall of Wisconsin. foxCONn is responsible for this, and of course Walker, 100%. Even Trump. I mean, this is a total conservative, idiotic contract that they signed, and this is all their fault. And then my question is,
Philip, before you get to your question, hold on one second. Before you get to your question, I have a little comment for the Republicans and the listeners of this fine program as well. I told you so. We told you so. We did nothing but tell you what a bad deal this was. Now your question, Philip.
Yeah, my question is, I've been reading in the newspapers for the last few months and everything that foxCONn is buying up a lot of land in Wisconsin. Do you guys know anything about that? They're buying different parcels all throughout the state. And I just kind of had my own feeling that they're doing this so they can get just basically so they can sell it again, because that's just my opinion. But have you heard about this?
Sure, I know they had bought.
What the reason?
Sure, I think I've got a theory at least, Philip. I don't think this is a big conspiracy. Before the election, and you looked at the polling in the state of Wisconsin, and this foxCONn deal was certainly not popular anywhere other than maybe Robin Voss's backyard. And people around the state said consistently, foxCONn has nothing to offer to people in my neck of the woods. So what foxCONn do? They spent effectively the taxpayers' money, Philip, because they're really just taking the money from us and spending it somewhere else. But they touched like 4 different media markets, right? Bought a building in Milwaukee, bought a building up in Eau Claire, got a building up in Green Bay. Well, what were they doing? They were just politicking, just like Scott Walker. They were just trying to put a footprint into different media markets. And yes, I do think they bought legitimately. They've closed on a few of these buildings, but whether or not they ever put, human infrastructure in place, I doubt they ever will, Philip. And whether or not they sell these buildings at a loss or a gain eventually, we, the taxpayers, footed the bills anyways. They don't care. It's all house money. It's all our house money, Philip.
Makes sense. Good answer. Appreciate it.
Well, we've been paying attention and listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, just like you. We're well informed. 844-967-2789. Get your reactions. This troubling breaking news in the state of Wisconsin. foxCONn, apparently, they're not even going to necessarily build a manufacturing plant, and all the ancillary jobs to be the supply chain for this manufacturing plant, well, I guess that's all out the window. And Wu, the guy from foxCONn, who was quoted in Reuters saying, we may never build a manufacturing facility to build TV screens in Wisconsin, is now this afternoon saying, oh, that's fake news. Don't worry, Tony Evers. Don't worry, Wisconsin. We got your back, and please pay us billions of dollars.
The actual quote from Wu. In Wisconsin, we're not building a factory. You can't use the factory to view our Wisconsin investment.
Sounds like no factory to me, Dom. Maybe
how am I misinterpreting that? Lost in translation.
Fake news.
In Wisconsin, we're not building a factory. Oh, I'm sorry. They must have reported that wrong.
You took him out of context. Like his sentence. You quoted him directly. That's so smearful of you, Dom. 844-967-2789. I believe Kurt from the Stallis is next. Welcome back to the show, Kurt. How are you doing, man? Staying warm, I hope?
Oh, yeah, it's really cold. It's cool outside. I just got done changing the battery in one of my friend's cars, so it's kind of cold out there.
Oh, that's nice of you. Well done, sir.
Curtis, does this FoxCONn news got you warmed up on the inside, kind of put a little fire in your belly?
No. What I told my friend years ago when they first did this Fox crap thing, what they're going to do is we're going to build them a building, and they're going to basically use it for a warehouse. So when they bring all this stuff over here from different country, they can store it there and then ship it, basically like a hub.
And still have a big straw into Lake Michigan?
Oh, sure. You know what I mean? It's all, like Crudy said, it's all about the politics, But the reason I called is because for Scott Walker to stick his lips to the pole, he's got to take it off of Trump's butt.
Oh, nice.
Now, you talking a cold pole outside, Kurt, or the greasy kind in the strip club?
Hey, it could be the same pole, that they got the Clinton on, So, it all depends the poles he's into. But hey, you never know. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure if he said polls or polls, like polling, like Scott Walker's disapproval rating is up in the state of Wisconsin.
He's terrible.
844-967-2789. That man will not be able to show his face in public if we have anything to say about it. If you see him in Milwaukee today, you push Scott Walker in the snow.
Let's keep going on the phones. Joe from Madison, you are up. Thanks for calling, Joe. What do you think?
Great interview with Matt Flynn. It was really valuable. I'm wondering if you guys can expand a little bit more. He was talking about looking, as I understood it, looking at this deal with FoxCONn as a way for them to grab intellectual property within the state of Wisconsin. Is he talking about the deals that were made with UW-Madison? I know
Absolutely.
Can you expand a little bit on that? Give me some more background on that.
My understanding is it sounded like a very philanthropic offer. FoxCONn had offered to put $100 million up to UW-Madison for research primarily. Now, the caveat is UW had to go raise $100 million of their own, Joe, so this wasn't a gift with no strings attached, and perhaps the greatest strings attached is that, FoxCONn gets to keep any of the intellectual properties, any of the patents created by this synergy created with taxpayers' money and FoxCONn money. So effectively, we are financing research that a foreign corporation then gets to take and put on the open market for whatever profit they can garner, and we pay for it, Joe.
Isn't that absolutely counter to what we do with WARF and, the...
Absolutely. I was going to bring up WARF. I mean, hell, some of these numbers get really big. I know there's been some contention over ironically, iPhones. And WARF. WARF is the part of the UW that goes out there and protects patents on behalf of the research portion of the university. Well, we've been talking about a $500 million patent in play with iPhones and the touchscreen technology, Joe. So, this is no small windfall for FoxCONn potentially, depending on what the patents are. I mean, God only knows. The cure for cancer could come out of UW, and FoxCONn could own that cure for cancer theoretically, because they used taxpayer dollars to match donor dollars and called it philanthropic. And ultimately, they were just trying to butter up the liberals in Madison and get a few of the elitist libs behind this FoxCONn deal. Because, once again, as I said to the prior caller Curtis or someone, FoxCONn was really just trying to spread some money around the state and pretend like, it's really good for all of us. And, of course, Joe, it's not. Intellectual property rights, I mean, patents, that's where fortunes are made and lost.
Yeah, that's where the money is in patents. Would that then be part of, if we said, as per what Mr. Flynn was saying, if we went to court and said breach of contract, the contract's done, would that part of it be done, or was I'm talking about the deal between UW and foxCONn? Would that go out the window too? Or
I'm not sure that
negotiated?
Joe, that's an interesting question you ask, and I'm not absolutely clear on the answer, but it is not my impression that this matching fund philanthropic donation to UW, it's not my impression that that was part of the original deal. I just think it's funded by the taxpayers' dollars that was part of the original deal. I think this is a side deal signed off on Scott Walker appointees and the Board of Regents, Joe.
Boy, we got to get rid of that one too then, don't we? I mean, that is just as stinky and just as costly as the original deal, right?
The only person on the Board of Regents who was not a Scott Walker appointee was Tony Evers.
Okay. Oh, it's time for a few phone calls, I guess. Well, thanks, you guys, as always. I appreciate the information and great interviews. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you for listening. We got more great interviews today, including a fine gentleman on the phones, John Johnson at 4:05. Going to make the happy hour a little happier. He is a research fellow at Marquette University Law School, Lubar Center. He works with our pal Charles Franklin. We're going to talk about the voters in the state of Wisconsin. But first, we're going to hear from you if you care. Join us. Your 2 cents worth valued here, like at least $2 at 844-967-2789.
The manufactured outrage by the Democrats right now is hilarious.
Got news for you, pal. They're gonna nail us no matter what we do.
Oh, there's a big surprise!
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing.
Welcome to our good buddy, Congressman Mark Pocan. Mark, in some small part, this little radio product, the entire rationale for buying a radio station was opposition to Scott Walker. One person's telling me, be humble, Crudy. Take a day and just be humble. And another person's telling me, no, dance on Scott Walker's grave. So, Congressman, I've always admired your sage advice. Sir, what should I do? How should I react to this?
We should waltz, we should polka, and we should two-step. We should be dancing on this right now. To your credit, and I do want to give you guys credit. In Milwaukee, we have seen a shift, especially the suburban areas, from when we had just conservative radio to having you guys there. We have seen a shift in that area, and that's important because I think when people hear ideas, we do better. And I want to thank you for being there and doing what you do.
Hashtag Walker bashing.
Bye, Felicia.
The big and tall of political talk. Dom and Krut are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Real Resistance radio phone lines open. 844-967-2789.
Dom, let's take at least one more caller. Mark from the SAC. You are on the air, my friend. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing okay. I'm surprised some of Walker's supporters there, that regularly post on the site, like Big Ugly, hasn't called in because, after all, isn't he a Republican research assistant there? And, telling us how we're all wrong, how this is going to, that foxCONN is going to come through in shining colors, and we're all going to be super-duper happy with what they're going to produce for us. And I just don't know How Mark going to turn out good for us?
It's very confusing whether or not they're on the Republican payroll or the Russian payroll. But I think Big Ugly Keith from Waukesha, I think he's sort of a domestic terrorist, if you will.
Jeez.
It is surprising because sometimes they post stuff out there, then all of a sudden it just disappears, and you wonder what's going on. And they must, the marching orders must change from hour to hour. Their little Chiron feed that they get in their brain implant must be giving them instructions.
Now, Mark, what about the reality of this situation? I mean, obviously, this deal continues to change, right? And time kills all deals, and so does all these change orders coming in. At some point, Mark, do you think the Republicans will look back and say, well, maybe this isn't going to be worth it? Maybe they are, in fact, in breach of the contract that we've been out here, peddling to the Wisconsin citizens for years. Any hope that there are some business-minded folks within the Republican Party that would think that at some point this is going to be a bad deal?
I think they're going to pull a George Orwell thing on us. So we've never been for FoxCONn. How dare you? They'll pull that we've never been.
Tony Evers' FoxCONn deal.
Yeah, that's what it'll be. So we were never for this FoxCONn deal. How could you get that impression? We ever promoting for FoxCONn, and the intellectual property rights. I think there's something we have to do there because. Is it all the intellectual property rights go to FoxCONn, or just 50% of them? Because that's no deal there either.
I think it's closer to 100%, Mark, and I don't say that with certainty, but I didn't see anywhere where there was a division. What, we're going to be in bed? The UW researchers are going to be in bed in perpetuity with FoxCONn? I mean, I know the taxpayers of the state of Wisconsin effectively are in bed with FoxCONn for a generation, but I'm not sure about the patent rights, Mark. I didn't see anything that would extend patent rights to the UW, just FoxCONn.
Well, how then is that a benefit to us at all? Because the patent rights are the brass ring for that research. I mean, or the golden ring for that research, because it's a lot of money, out of patent rights.
Well, FoxCONn gave a lead gift of $100 million. That's the price.
I mean, we're going to lose billions of dollars in the patent rights, probably.
Come on, Mark, just put up 50 cents. I'll put up 50 cents, and then I get to drink a cup of coffee on you.
Right. This sounds like a great deal.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Thank you for the call, Mark. Always appreciate it. 844-967-2789.
Mark doesn't understand business. He really needs to take business advice from a guy who's worked in the political sector since 1993.
Oh, Scott Walker, you mean?
Yeah, college dropout, that guy that hasn't had a private sector job since, you and I were in college.
Oh, come on. I mean, don't you believe the hype? He fixed a $3.6 billion budget deficit here in the state of Wisconsin, Crudy. Hell, he ended up with a $400 million surplus. That's a $4 billion swing. And on top of that, he negotiated a $4.5 billion incentive package for FoxCONn, the largest corporate welfare giveaway to a foreign corporation in world history.
Dominic, you didn't see revenue numbers, state of Wisconsin revenue numbers below expectations today. And, of course, the whole cash surplus, $588 million, that Republicans have been bragging about, well, like half of that is gone. And if you use GAAP accounting and you factor in the something approaching $5 billion Scott Walker signed us up for, we're in the toilet forever. We're never going to get paid back. And, oh, yeah, if it's not a manufacturing plant, there will be no ancillary feeder supply chain jobs.
Nothing like the Republicans using the force of government under eminent domain, pushing people out of their homes, striking a god-awful deal. And I still want to know how much money FoxCOnn has provided to third-party groups. We don't know that. We don't have the ability to know that, unfortunately. But what is the motivation for the Republicans now? At some point, can't you just cut it loose?
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. We got a fine guest joining us to start the happy hour. He is John Johnson. He is a research fellow at Marquette Law School's Lubar Center. He's a statistician. He's going to help us understand the evolving politics here in the state of Wisconsin through the prism of the midterms. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
And even though that would be great, I think we're still gonna have to
If you missed something on the Devil's Advocates, don't worry. After you get over your shame, you can check out domandcroop.com. Podcasts and interviews updated daily.
Never gonna get it, 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 never get it.
1 in 3 adults in America have prediabetes, but most don't know it. To let people know it can be reversed before it becomes type 2 diabetes, professional basketball player Julius Randle is doing everything in reverse.
I'm only dunking with reverse windmills. I drove the whole way to practice in reverse. I don't recommend it. This move's called the reverse shuffle. I do recommend it. And it took me months to learn how to speak in reverse, like this. Years 10 almost for diabetes type 2 with living Ben has mom my. In other words, my mom has been living with type 2 diabetes for almost 10 years. So together, we want to say to the 84 million Americans at risk, exercise and healthy eating can help reverse prediabetes. Start by taking a simple 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Bet he can't say that in reverse.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Interference in the interference probe. Senate Republicans confront Trump. I'm Mike Moss. Russian hackers have stolen and posted online court information the Mueller Russia team turned over to a Russian firm charged with being behind the troll farm that had worked to interfere in the 2016 election. Correspondent Shimon Prokupez.
Some of these documents, as part of a disinformation campaign by the Russians, have been altered. So essentially, they are mixing what is real documents with fake documents and trying to discredit the Mueller investigation.
President Trump is getting pushback from leaders in his own party for his sharp criticism of U.S. intelligence, which says Iran, Syria, and North Korea remain major security concerns. Senate leader Mitch McConnell insists that ISIS remains a threat even with gains.
We just really want to emphasize that if people see something that is strange, a little off, or gives them any pause, they call 911 immediately. Let us sort through it. We really are relying on the many thousands of eyes and ears that will be in the city.
That is the warning today from Atlanta Police Chief Erica Shields as throngs of fans descend on Atlanta for the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday. More than 1,600 flights have been canceled today because of frigid conditions in the Midwest. That cold is headed to the east now, and at least 6 deaths are blamed on that cold weather. Stocks added to their gains on Wall Street today after the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, sent a reassuring signal. Powell said the Fed is concerned the economy is slowing down, and it intends to move slowly on any future interest rate increases. On Wall Street today, the Dow was up 434 points, S&P up 41, NASDAQ up 154.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
This dude is a clown, and the Republicans are traitors, regardless of whatever they say. The Democrats are one thing. I'm not a Dem, obviously, but the Republicans are traitors because they just wanted to win an election.
It will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know.
God bless you. Continue what you're doing, brother.
Thank you.
I love your show, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon on Real Resistance Radio.
One Bible. A Pittsburgh television station has fired an employee who added an unflattering title to a graphic of Patriots quarterback Tom Brady. Correspondent John Stolnis with more.
A spokesperson for CBS affiliate KDKA says they fired a producer for violating the station's journalistic standards. In a story previewing the upcoming Super Bowl, a video showed Tom Brady speaking, and on the chyron underneath were the words "known cheater" as his title. Brady was suspended for 4 games in 2017 for his role in the Deflategate scandal. The producer, Michael Telek, took to Twitter saying he got fired for making a joke and established a GoFundMe account to raise money to help him pay the mortgage on the new house he had just bought. He also said he will donate the money raised to charity in Brady's name once he finds another job. I'm John Stolnis.
NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said today the league is considering whether to allow reviews of blatant mistakes by officials, as happened in the NFC Championship game.
Five9, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy five9s.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. At a congressional hearing, Milwaukee Congresswoman Gwen Moore announced that she has been diagnosed with cancer, but that she is, quote, in great health with an excellent prognosis of living with this disease, end quote. The Congresswoman said she was diagnosed last spring with small cell lymphocytic lymphoma, and it's manageable with proper surveillance and treatment. And the plan to remove the Chestnut Grove next to the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts could be blocked by a new proposal to designate the property as historic. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. We have a wind chill warning in effect until noon tomorrow for Milwaukee, 10 a.m. tomorrow for Madison. Outside tonight, mostly clear skies, lows around minus 22 in Milwaukee, minus 30 in Madison. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into a polar vortex hump day happy hour, and I'm happy to announce we got a first-time guest joining us right now live via phone. His name, John Johnson. He is a research fellow at the Marquette Law School Lubar Center. John, we welcome you to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, John.
Well, John, I extended the invitation primarily because I saw you tweeting at a buddy of ours at the Washington Post, Dave Weigel, and the tweet I noted, and you sent him a graph, and I know graphs don't play on the radio, but that's why you're here, sir. I wrote about crucial Waukesha County and how it would help decide the 2018 Wisconsin governor's race. Well, John, please do tell, what was the change in Waukesha? It's been the most Republican district in the entire nation, or so reported the Washington Post not so many years ago.
Yeah, well, so I think it's more helpful to think about the Milwaukee area as being Milwaukee County plus the 3 WOW counties, right? So Waukesha, Ozaukee, and Washington. But 85% of that whole area lives in either Milwaukee County or in Waukesha County. And if you look at that area as a whole, you see that it usually votes for Republicans in the governor's races. Since 1990, it's voted Republican in 7 out of 9 of those elections, and it usually votes Democratic in the presidential races. It's gone blue in, let's see, 5 out of 7 races for the president since 1990. And what's really interesting is looking at Scott Walker's performance. So in 2010, he won the Milwaukee area by 47,000 votes. In 2012, in the recall, he won it by 45,000. In 2014, he won it by 48,000. And in 2018, he lost by 18,000 votes. And that change didn't happen in the city primarily. The city voted about the same for Tony Evers as it did for Mary Burke in 2014. The real change happened in the Milwaukee County suburbs and also in the Waukesha suburbs. It was really pretty extraordinary. That's a 65,000 vote net swing from 2014 to 2018 towards the Democrats. And when you consider that Tony Evers only won by about, I think it was 29,000 votes statewide, there's a strong argument to be made that it was really the deteriorating Republican support in the Milwaukee suburbs that cost him the election.
And, John, it begs the question, do we know what to attribute this deteriorating support to? I would say it's Real Resistance Radio, but what do you think as a professional, sir?
You know, unfortunately, we don't have any data that I have on where people listen to your show more than in other places, so perhaps you can share that with me. But, you know, I made a model looking at all the suburbs and how they shifted from what I'm calling the pre-Trump elections of 2012 and 2014 to the Trump-era elections of 2016 and 2018. You know, nationally, people have talked a lot about how the suburbs have trended blue in both in 2016 and even more so in 2018. There's a lot of good research that says that it's really suburban voters changing their partisan preferences that gave Democrats the House of Representatives. So I looked at all the suburbs around Milwaukee to see what demographic characteristics predicted a change or correlated with a change in the way they voted from before Trump to after Trump. And the significant things are the percent of the population which is black, the percent which is Latino or Hispanic, and then the biggest predictor is the percent with a graduate degree. So for every additional percent of the population with a graduate degree, about 0.8% of the vote shifted towards the Democrat over that period. So almost 1 for 1 that more people with a graduate degree, more people voted for the Democrat in that place than before Trump.
Now, John, I read a tweet thread that you put out there, and you've thrown out a lot of statistics, but some of the most Democratic shifting suburbs include Whitefish Bay, Fox Point, Bayside, Wauwatosa, and Elm Grove, and they shifted by about 20% relative to the rest of the state. John, that's a huge shift, is it not, statistically?
It's massive, yeah. It's really extraordinary, and I think it's interesting because for a long time the conventional wisdom was that in southeastern Wisconsin nobody changes their political preferences. You know, it's all locked in partisanship, so campaigns would just be about turning out the vote. But in those suburbs particularly, I think it's clear that people did change their minds, or at least their political preferences. You know, some of those suburbs were really quite Republican, not even purple, 8 years ago in 2010, and now some of them I would say are just Democratic. They're not really even that competitive any longer. That's a pretty abrupt change. Although I don't think it's necessarily that surprising, because the sort of WOW counties were the places that were the most satisfied with the Romney-era Republican Party. So it makes sense that as the Republican Party has changed, that their dissatisfaction has been pretty pronounced relative to other parts of the state.
John, I don't want our audience to think that the entire state shifted Democratic, because there are communities that in fact shifted more Republican. They just tend to be smaller cities. John, tell us why and what cities are included.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So, in one of the ways that I think about it is there are places which voted for Trump more than they voted for Obama in 2012, and also voted for Walker in 2018 more than they did in 2014. So those places have moved consistently right. And there are, let me take a look here. We've got...
I got them for you, John, if you want. I've got them right here at my. I'm looking at your tweet thread. They include Newburgh, Kewaskum, Big Bend, and Wayne. Those are not thriving metropolises.
No, okay, yeah. So in the Milwaukee area, those are the places that have become more Republican. And I was looking for my figure for the state as a whole, but they are communities that are very similar to that. Small, more rural communities, which if you add them all up, quite a few people live there. I think in Craig Gilbert's research for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, he found that Scott Walker improved his performance in communities with fewer than 1,000 people, but he did worse the larger the communities get. And that's not just the big cities, it's also the suburbs and the county seats and places like that all around the state.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That is John Johnson. He is a research fellow at Marquette University Law School Lubar Center. He joins us on the phone talking some statistics on the elections here at the midterms. John, any indication of the impact of new voters? I think Trump brought a lot of people out both times for him and then in the midterms perhaps against him. Did you get any sense of new voters, people participating in elections for the first time?
I hate to disappoint you, but it doesn't really seem that I can tell that was a huge part, at least, of the 2018 election. It wasn't an especially young electorate. We saw more young voters in the Obama election than now. So that makes sense sort of intuitively that more people would be showing up to vote, but I haven't seen great evidence of that. The lowest turning out places in Milwaukee are still the places where students live, for example.
And John, do you work with Charles Franklin when he conducts his polling?
I do indeed. That's him and I mostly.
Well, then I got to ask you, why do you keep oversampling Republicans, John?
Sorry, John, that's a constant.
That's that.
Charles should have warned you. We were going to say something, sir.
No, I mean, that's something we've been looking at pretty closely because the partisan balance really has changed. And what I can tell you is that from really that pre-Trump era of our polling to the polling in 2016 and subsequently, there are a lot fewer people who say they are conservative that identify as Democrat. So in 2014, I believe, we had just as many people in Wisconsin who described their ideology as either moderate or conservative and were Democrats as Democrats who said they were liberal or very liberal. That's not true anymore. People who are moderate or conservative seem to have left the Democratic Party in a significant way. But I should add that those people were not necessarily voting for Democratic candidates. Your party identification is different than the way you vote.
John, I got one last question for you. I'm looking again at one of your color-coded maps, and this one is the relative shift from 2012 and 14 to 16 and 18. And you've got in the darkest of blue the areas of the state of Wisconsin that are 15% or more Democratic now, post-Trump than they were. John, it looks like primarily right around WRD's location on the Lower East Side on Brady Street, and then also very dark blue out in Waukesha, and I guess that's where we started this conversation. Any correlation between the areas that turned more blue to your statistical analysis, sir?
Yeah, so really it was the places that have more ethnic and racial minorities, so are less white, and the places that have more highly educated voters. Those were the three things that really predicted most of that shift towards the Democrats. Now, what I will say, not talking about the shift, but talking about which suburbs are more Democratic just in general, something that correlates strongly with that is the share of commuters who commute to the city of Milwaukee. So if more people in a given suburb go to work in the city of Milwaukee, that suburb controlling for income, age, education, and race is significantly more likely to be correspondingly more Democratic. So I'm not entirely sure what to attribute that to, but it's pretty clear from the data that it's not just where you live, it's also where you work that predicts this sort of urban liberal attitudes that we see.
John Johnson, research fellow at Marquette Law School's Lubar Center. Thank you so much. Great to talk some numbers with you today on the radio, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. Thanks, John.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. I think I can close the loop. I think I know why.
Yeah, lay it on
those
me.
that have to commute, well, they turn on the radio, and they now have the option to listen to Real Resistance Radio. You're doing so right now, especially the Devil's Advocates Afternoon Drive. Come back with us. Join us on the phones, 844-967-2789.
Undecided voters are the biggest idiots on the planet. Try giving short, simple answers.
When I say make America great again, it could never be done without you. Great people.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi folks, this is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009 or visit cclmanagement.com today.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
When you shop Goodwill, you don't just bring home a vintage dress or cat lamp. You bring home so much good to your community, because everything you buy funds local job training and more. Goodwill, bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing.
Welcome to our good buddy, Congressman Mark Pocan. Mark, in some small part, this little radio product, the entire rationale for buying a radio station was opposition to Scott Walker. One person's telling me, be humble, Crudy. Take a day and just be humble. And another person's telling me, no, dance on Scott Walker's grave. So, Congressman, I've always admired your sage advice. Sir, what should I do? How should I react to this?
We should waltz, we should polka, and we should two-step. We should be dancing on this right now. To your credit, and I do want to give you guys credit. In Milwaukee, we have seen a shift, especially the suburban areas, from when we had just conservative radio to having you guys there. We have seen a shift in that area, and that's important because I think when people hear ideas, we do better. And I want to thank you for being there and doing what you do.
Hashtag Walker bashing.
Bye, Felicia.
When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one indeed. I stepped on you, Dom.
Oh, come on.
I lost my place in time, man. Welcome the people back, please.
Oh, welcome back from the 420 break. I think maybe Crudy was taking a little break. Join us on the phones, 844-967-2789.
Well, Dom, I can't follow a leader. I got to set the example here. Once again, want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one, John Johnson, research fellow at the Marquette Law School Lubar Center. And Dom, I don't know what else you could draw conclusion with other than the fact that we, right here at Real Resistance Radio, we won that election for Tony Evers.
You're welcome, Tony.
You are welcome, sir. 844-967-2789.
Well, maybe it was the weed referendum. I mean, there was certainly some interesting statistics. What wasn't quite clear, though, do you recall the whole commuting issue? What was he saying regarding those who commute and
effectively, if you commute into Milwaukee, and I should probably pull up his tweet thread. I want to make sure I get this right. But effectively, if you commute into Milwaukee from the suburbs, you're more likely to be a Democrat. Or at least to have voted Democratic in the most recent midterm elections. Now, I don't mean to misconstrue what Mr. Johnson said, but that was my understanding.
Places where more workers commute to the city of Wisconsin are typically more Democratic. So if you're working in the city of Milwaukee, you are more democratically leaning, I guess, even if you live out in the burbs.
I think everyone in our audience should move just a little farther away from work, Tom, because then you get a longer dose of the devil's advocates on your drive home, right? Again, you're welcome, Tony Evers. I'm just saying.
Very, very interesting. I'd love to see some greater breakdown of the listenership of this fine audience, but no doubt about it, there wasn't anything else to listen to prior to the station being in this marketplace. Believe me, I've lived here for some time. I went through the dials on the AMs and the FMs, and it was this righty-whitey radio.
Well, Dominic, it's perhaps a combination of two things. The removal of Charlie Sykes from the marketplace, because he was an opinion leader. He was here, 23, 24 years, and he bailed, Now he's getting all the plush appearances on MSNBC and apparently working for NPR. But it is the removal of Charlie Sykes, because certainly he has not been replaced, not in terms of impact. And the only one, that loudmouth competing with us, Mark Belling, that might have a similar impact in this media market. Well, did you see the most recent listenership over at WISN?
No.
No, I hate to throw the ratings at him, but they went from like a 6.5 to a 4.6. That is the lowest ratings I've seen for WISN, I think, ever in the most recent ratings books. So suck it, Mark Belling.
And now you have, Charlie Sykes out there profiting on the very chaos that he helped to create. I mean, that's one hell of a business plan if he can get away with it, Charlie.
Wait till I flip full conservative, Tom. I'm going to get rich, I tell you. I'm gonna reform like Charlie does about every 20 years of his career. Find a new light. 844-967-2789. I just know we're grabbing some of that credit.
We'll take it.
Jake, welcome to the show. What do you got for us?
Hey. Hello?
Yes, Jake from Milwaukee. You're up,
on,
buddy.
man.
Okay. I don't know. I had some things, but hey, next Tuesday, I'm going to come and drink a lot of beer because I'm getting there right at 5. So.
Nice.
See you there.
It is Jake, it will be our 2-year anniversary of doing business in Milwaukee. 2 years we've been on the air as WRRD. Actually, technically, our anniversary is on Friday. We're going to celebrate on Tuesday. And for all our adult friends, we're going to buy them some fine Lakefront Brewery beer, and we're going to have a good old party. And you are certainly cordially invited, Jake, you and all the listeners that can hear my voice right now.
All right. That last guest you had was great because it was data. I know Republicans and conservatives probably couldn't figure it out because it's science. But the thing is I hope David Bowen and whoever the chair is for the Democrats are paying attention to that information. Because the thing is, if you can start eroding the Loudoun County's conservative iron grip on this state, you can actually make the state a better place and actually start winning things. Because, I mean, it's just, I've been thinking about it for a while, and it makes the most sense to spend some money and some stuff to go into these areas and get these people to start voting Democratic or not hardcore right-wing, faith-based budgeting conservatives, you know?
I
So,
do know, Jake, and I know that if you have any faith in the current chair of the Democratic Party in the state of Wisconsin, you're going to be super disappointed. The Democrats don't understand the messaging platform. Dom, I've invested over $1 million. The stated purpose of this radio station was A, to defeat Scott Walker, and B, to change the demographics, the voting outcomes in Waukesha County. Mission accomplished. And the Democrats, they don't even know what we've done for them. Come back with us. We've been super cool. That's what we've done. 844-967-2789. We'll be right back.
Want to see the super sexiest political show on earth? Check out The Devil's Advocates on YouTube. Here's how you get them. If someone invites you for a cocktail, you bring them beer. If someone invites you to dinner, you bring a casserole. That's how you make friends. That's the Wisconsin way.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. It's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Real Resistance Radio entering our terrible twos. Dom can't believe 2 years doing business in Milwaukee.
Crudy, the Resistance lives on. Come join us for a party at the Roman Coin, 1004 East Brady Street, Tuesday, February 5th.
Free beer for all our adult friends, but you better get there early.
So join us at the Roman Coin, 5 o'clock Tuesday, February 5th, 1004 East Brady Street. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
On Election Day 2016, Madison lost its only progressive radio station, and I've taken strides every day since to bring lefty talk back to my hometown. I'm Crudy, an opinionated devil on the radio, but I'm also Crudy, the entrepreneur and a fiduciary to over 400 clients and their investment in real estate for the last decade. 2 years ago, I put my money where my mouth was, bought and built a radio station in Milwaukee. I've learned hard and expensive lessons, leaving me wiser and uniquely qualified to replicate the effort. I have the license. Now is the time to build an independent 24-hour FM talk radio station in Madison, a durable, rapid response platform that Republicans can't take away with a lame duck. Unique deferral of 2018 cap gains through Opportunity Zone investment possible.
Join me, accredited investors, partner with a fellow progressive. Email Crude at darnwi.com. This opportunity subject to an SEC 506C filing.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. A new report from Reuters says the foxCONN project may not happen as it was promoted. The report says foxCONN is reconsidering plans to make advanced LCD display panels at the factory now under construction in Racine County. The report is based on an interview with Louis Wu, Special Assistant to Chief Executive Terry Gao. According to the story published by Reuters, foxCONN, quote, said it intends to hire mostly engineers and researchers rather than the manufacturing workforce the project originally promised, end quote. Outside tonight, mostly clear. Lows around minus 22 in Milwaukee, minus 30 in Madison. Wind chills of 30 to 40 below zero. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Hump Day Happy Hour. It continues right now. The phone line's open at 844-967-2789. Now, I saw some news today, Dom, at Politico.com, and I took this as good news, all in all. The headline, Podesta, John Podesta, you know your buddy from the Spin Room in Vegas, Dom?
I do, vaguely.
Clinton says she's not running for president. Of course, we're talking about Hillary, not Bill. Hillary Clinton says she's not running for president in 2020. Her former campaign chairman said late Tuesday, telling CNN that he takes her at her word, despite rumblings otherwise. Here's a quote. She would have been a great president, but she said she's not running for president, John Podesta said. He said, reporting by CNN's Jeff Zeleny, that the former Democratic nominee had told associates she was not closing the door on a 2020 run was media catnip. He also said that though he wished the former Secretary of State were president, I take her at her word. She's not running for president as the field of potential candidates to take on Donald Trump in 2020 begins to take shape. Clinton's name has been floated more than once as a possible candidate. In an interview with Politico last fall, one of her longtime advisors made the case for a 2020 Clinton candidacy and put the chances of her running for president a third time at somewhere between highly unlikely and zero. But it's not zero. But John Podesta today says apparently it is zero, a little bit more from the Politico, Dom. And Clinton herself said last fall that she still would like to be president, though she said she had no desire to run again. But Podesta said he would be happy however the field of Democratic contenders shape up, even without Clinton. We got a lot of great candidates out there right now. I think the Democratic primary is going to be a spirited one with a lot of great ideas coming forward. As I said, I think Clinton would have been a great president, but that's in the past. And she's not running, and I took that as relatively good news, Tom.
Now, did you see the actual interview of Podesta on CNN?
No, I only saw it reported here. I always found John Podesta to be somewhat boring as an interview.
I took it as a please don't run kind of a statement from John Podesta. That's how it felt to me seeing him at the interview. Yes, those words are what he said, but the impression I get is that, yeah, she would have been great, but her time has passed, and oh man, we got all these other people. Let's not do that again. We know there's a lot of vitriol, justified or not, against the former secretary. Let's just move along, is what I really got out of John Podesta in that interview.
Now, I did post this on our Facebook page at the Devil's Advocates Radio, and a nice lady named Marlene had something to say in comment. I'm going to read Marlene's comment. I wonder why two white men who run the Devil's Advocates, well, just this white man mostly runs it. Dom just objects every now and again.
Yeah. I'm the sexy one. He's the guy that talks all the time.
I wonder why two white men who run the Devil's Advocates are so against the most qualified person to have ever run for president, male or female. There is no one with the experiences Mrs. Clinton has. With her as our president, we would be in a vastly different and better place today, here at home in America and around the world. Hashtag not Devil's Advocates. What? Come on, Marlene. America has been irreparably harmed by Trump being where he is, and shows like this one share some of that
It's your fault, Crudy. What did you do?
We apparently wrecked Hillary Clinton's candidacy nationwide. We helped, Donald Trump win the state of Wisconsin? I'm not exactly sure how that happened. Now, I did throw out a comment back to Marlene, and I pointed out, when Hillary Clinton came to the state of Wisconsin, we broadcast those events. We did the little closed door one when, she had like 250 college kids in Madison. That's where we first met Dave Weigel from the Washington Post. He was on the show that day. I recall it vividly. The other time was Hillary Clinton in Milwaukee at UW Milwaukee. I almost said Marquette. And we were in the throng doing a live broadcast of Hillary Clinton's speech. Now, in 2016, we were not able to live broadcast Hillary in Wisconsin because she never freaking came. And that's not my fault. I'm not her travel agent. I didn't choose her campaign. But we had every damn Hillary Clinton surrogate, and I'm telling you, Hillary had the best friends. I mean, we had wonderful U.S. senators. We had great surrogates. And we took them all, I think perhaps excepting Bradley Whitford. You know, Hollywood actors. I didn't think it appropriate to book Bradley Whitford on this fine show. You know, nothing but politics for us, Tom.
Who?
West Wing guy.
Okay.
He's very popular. Former, I think he was a Badger. I think he graduated from UW.
But yeah, we had most of Hillary's people who were around on the circuit, you know, for her came on the show, of course.
And Dominic, I would point out, we also live broadcast the DNC from Philadelphia. We were also in Los Angeles in South Central the day Hillary Clinton won, or at least the AP called the race for Hillary Clinton. But don't blame us. I've been out here busting my ass, as had my little buddy, to do something about it. I freaking bought a radio station. And that was a direct result of the election of Donald Trump. I read the postmortems. I look at what happened. And I said, you know what? African Americans did not turn out in the state of Wisconsin. And too many of Waukesha's Republicans went to vote for Donald Trump and, Scott Walker. And I looked and said, how do we change that? Well, we changed the stranglehold of right-wing talk radio on the climate of the state of Wisconsin. To this day, 81 right-wing talk radio stations in the state of Wisconsin cranking out 235 hours a day of righty-whitey talk. And you and I were in Madison on the Mike 92.1. We didn't have that kind of fucking...
We did not have that kind of reach in the state of Wisconsin, and that's kind of the problem. But now, thankfully, Crudy, to your efforts, we do.
Well, and your efforts and Fancy Brian's efforts, and that's the second time I've been profane in 7 years on the air. This one's got me a little fired up, Marlene, I got to tell you. No one has done more to, at least my own self-perception, than we have. I'm like the biggest donor to the Democratic Party in the state of Wisconsin, and I don't say that with any relish. I thought they would stand with me as well, but they haven't. I put all the money out, and they basically have ignored this platform. Where's Tony Evers? Where is he? Man got elected. We helped him do so. Doesn't come around no more. Where was Hillary Clinton? You probably would have voted for Hillary.
I was just going to say that, Crudy. And Marlene, to your point, number one, people vote for people for all sorts of reasons, all right? But number two, I specifically said, Hillary Clinton's come to Wisconsin, come to the show, be interviewed. I would gladly vote for her. She never did. Now, is that on me or is that on her?
We did have Bernie Sanders on our show on primary day, and I'd point out Bernie Sanders did quite well here in the state of Wisconsin. I obviously was somewhat supportive of Bernie Sanders, but ultimately Hillary Clinton had every opportunity to come and campaign in our state. It was her campaign team that made those choices. We didn't make those frickin' choices. All we did is put out the greatest radio show ever, and after we saw Hillary Clinton lose in the state of Wisconsin, that was damn painful. We went out and I put up my life savings. I put my house, my business, and my kid's future on the line. So, Marlene, if you don't like the way I do it, don't read my social media postings. But quite frankly, I don't see the Democratic Party or any other singular donor in the state of Wisconsin, quite frankly, doing a damn thing other than me and my staff, guys like Dom, guys like Fancy Brian. So if I'm wrong, correct me, but I'm not wrong. I might be a little profane. Dump me, please, if necessary.
844-967-2789. Let's get to some callers. Ron from San Diego, you're up. Thanks for calling. Ron, what do you got today?
Hey, don't beat yourself up over this one email. Come on.
Well, it's not one email. It's a reflection, a greater reflection. I mean, white males. Quite frankly, Elizabeth Warren would have been my preferred candidate. She was my first choice. I eventually embraced Bernie Sanders because Hillary was unacceptable to me in the primary. Eventually, I even voted for Hillary and encouraged my audience to do the same, Ron. But it's not the white maleness. Hell, right now my favorites, Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris. And neither one of them are white males, Ron.
So I agree. And I don't know what her deal is, and I don't know what the word is for hating men. But I know what misogyny is. I've heard that plenty. But,
Mansogyny?
I don't know.
No.
Misogyny. Hey, so here's the deal. I was really in favor of Elizabeth Warren, and then I heard Kamala Harris and the Iowa town hall on CNN.
Yep.
And she just really, I think Elizabeth Warren's exceptionally smart, and I think Kamala Harris is exceptionally gutsy and smart. So at this point, I'm not going to go for what I thought was safe with Hillary Clinton. I'm going to go with my gut. Now, at this point, I got to go with Kamala Harris.
Don't be a mansogynist, Ron. Keep listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. FCC is going to make us turn off the fine AMs, but you can stream us live 24/7 at realresistanceradio.com. Call us on the phones. They're open, 844-967-2789.
He was literally breathing down my neck.
Sign on
my
with the devil.
My skin crawled.
Good evening, everyone. Due to FCC regulations and that we are an AM daytime radio station, this now concludes our broadcast day. But you don't have to leave us. We do stream online 24/7 at realresistanceradio.com. That's realresistanceradio.com. Or check us out on the TuneIn app at WRRD. For those of you already streaming, we now continue regular programming, and please welcome your friends from the radio. Say hello, everyone. WRRD 1510 AM and WTTN 1580 AM, Real Resistance Radio. Good night, everyone.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, Real Resistance Radio, streaming on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio. And the party line open. Last segment of the day, so if you've got something to say, do it now. Do it now. 844-967-2789.
Now with slightly less profanity.
Just a tad.
You know, that's only the second time I've slipped in 7 years. I apologize for dropping an F-bomb. All the live streamers, I hope I didn't hurt your ears.
Oh, I'm over here clutching my pearls, Crudy.
You know, some Republican somewhere is taking it personally. I heard it on the live stream. I'm telling the FCC. 844-967-2789. Let's get back to our friends on the phones. You're always our friend when you call the Devil's Advocates. Right, Betsy?
That's right, you devils. You are my angels. You saved Wisconsin, and I know it to be true. Part of Hillary, she really was the most qualified person we could ever have in a long time to run for president of our great nation. And I was totally disappointed she didn't come here, and I think that did hurt her. And I also think upon other things, the Comey release and all that. His name is still mud. And I also think you guys told the truth. And the truth is what it is, you know. she could have opened up a little bit more. Have you guys ever seen Fahrenheit 9/11? That's interesting. That Bernie won states that Hillary supposedly, I don't know. There was some fishy stuff going on.
Well, people should have more issues with the way the DNC ran those primaries than anything we ever said here on the Devil's Advocates radio show. Hell, I was pushing Nancy Wasserman Schultz in February. In February of 2016, we're watching, I mean, we were in Iowa, we were at the caucuses, and then we had, the debate in Milwaukee, Debbie Wasserman Schultz came to town. I mean, come on. Right. When we saw Bernie effectively won New Hampshire and Hillary got the majority of the electoral votes. If anyone's got an issue with the outcome of the last election, it should be the stacking of the deck on behalf of Hillary Clinton by the superdelegates and the process. And in no small part, I think that's why Tom Perez and the DNC has done away, or at least they claim they've done away, on the first ballot with superdelegates.
Well, and no doubt about that, Curdy. But that when Bernie signed up to do this, Betsy, he knew what the deal was. I mean, he knew the deck was stacked against him. You can't tell me that he didn't. Now, perhaps a lot of folks didn't know, out there in the general public, but that's how, parties can do what parties want to do. They're private parties. Everyone has their own little club rules, and that was the club rule. And there was pushback on that, I think justifiably so, and I think the party has responded, as Curdy mentioned, to a degree. I don't know if it's perfect yet, but, that's why people should, if you don't like the way the party functions, then you got to join the party, pay the dues, show up and have an influence.
Right. You guys are so knowledgeable. See? You're the greatest show ever. I mean it. I love you guys.
Love you, Betsy.
Night.
Thanks, girl. You take care.
Love you more,
Stay
Betsy.
warm out there. 844-967-2789. You can join the political party. Just call that number. Pizza Box Mike, you are up. Hey, buddy, how you doing today?
Let me pull it back together here real quick, because we were talking about Hillary, and I don't even know why we're still doing that, okay, other than to say that she wasn't a great candidate.
Because we got called out on social media for being a couple of white guys on the radio, I guess. That's why.
Man, it happened. It's over. It's time to move on. But, all right, so...
Like Podesta said.
Because I forgot what I was going to say, man. But you know what? Apparently, Ron, Betsy, myself, Dom, Crudy, and Brian were the only ones to hear what you said. Can I say it now? Because we're not really on the radio.
Well, we actually still are. We have some affiliates that run us out. We still have to be nice on the air.
Baby. You guys dropped me one time when you thought I was going to swear. That was so funny. Because, you really can't tell where
It's a coin flip anytime you call, Mike. We always keep our hand on the dump button, buddy.
There's only 2 times that I screwed up on the air, and it was doing my show, so I know exactly how that happens. And our button didn't work, so oops.
All right, hey, Mike, hang on a second. While you're thinking about why you called, we got some Debbie Wasserman. You got some of that, Brian? Let's throw that out there for the folks. Just some little flavor.
Who participates at the level of our party primary? I mean, I'm speaking for myself. This is not something that the national parties had a discussion on, but the Democratic primary should be in my opinion, should be determined. The Democratic nominee should be determined by Democratic voters.
I believe the question I had asked of Debbie Wasserman Schultz was about open primary states. Perhaps it was the allocation of delegates. I just know shortly thereafter she turned around mid-interview and walked away from me, Mike.
Listen, I'll tell you what. Every year, the Democratic National Party, and even, in Wisconsin as well, they're the ones that determine who we have, okay? And I see again this cycle of running for president that one of the best women in the world that could be running from America to be the president won't even get in the race. And this happens every election, right? We know.
And who are you referencing, Michael?
Actually do better. I love Mazie Hirono from Hawaii. She's just like straight up, and she would make better decisions than just about anybody. I have nothing against the ones that are going in this time. I'm just saying that if she were in, that would be my vote right from the start. Everybody has a person like that, I would think, if they've been paying enough attention. But that's the kind of person I like. The Ocasio-Cortez, the ones that are saying the truth.
Yeah.
This is all about people. When I listen to Bloomberg and Schultz, I'm like, why don't you guys just get your own firm called Bloomberg and Schultz? Who are you trying to kid, man?
Well, but Mike, isn't that's the whole point of having somebody that speaks your language, that resonates with you. And just because you have one person, I might have another, and Crudy has another, and maybe Brian, that doesn't mean that those choices are bad for those who support those people. It's all about the resonance, man.
Right. And the other thing is, why vote for somebody that's not part of the solution, but part of the problem? Bloomberg and Schultz are part of the problem. All right? They've made their money based on the fact that the working class people and poor people have suffered at the hands of this system. And it's undeniable at this point. And now it's getting worse, right? I mean, now we got this, they own 80% of the money, or 80% of the working class is living paycheck to paycheck? Oh, my God, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was like 40% just a few years ago. It's exponential at this point. We're feeding a system that totally supports income disparity to the top from the working people. It's got to change.
And how does that change occur, Pizza Box Mike?
Man, you know how we're doing it. I think this is going to be a good year. I was talking to somebody who, has Robin Boss as a customer quite a bit, and a lot of other Republicans and people that have power around the square. And when I said, well, I want to come in and talk to him one of these days, he knows me, and I said, I think he's going to have a really tough year. And he goes, oh, he knows that. So obviously, these guys are already knowing that it's not working out well for him, and all we need is a couple of flies on the bar stool.
Well, I'm with you, man.
You going to go Project Veritas him?
I'm going to do something, I'll tell you that. I'm getting into this. I like it. I think I'm going to have the time for it, and I'm going for it.
Pizza Box Mike, always a pleasure, my friend. You stay warm out there. 844-967-2789. A few minutes left if you want to join this conversation. Crew, do you got anything else to say to Marlene while you're venting over here? The one that messaged you on Facebook? Or are we all over that now?
No, I'm basically over it. I was fine with Marlene making comment on the Facebook page. I just find it funny because there are state lawmakers, Democratic state lawmakers, specifically I can think of one, who blame me, little old Crudy, for Hillary Clinton's loss in the state of Wisconsin. And I'm thinking, how did I possibly have the power to influence the voters in such a way? And, I ask her of that question, and she's still convinced it's my fault. So maybe I take it a little personally, Marlene, because you're not the first one to blame me for Donald Trump. But it wasn't my fault. I'm not the one. We did our share of Trump rallies down. We did more than our share of Trump rallies. And what was the sentiment in the parking lots? Waukesha, West Allis, Green Bay. I mean, we saw Trump all around the state of Wisconsin. We saw Trump all around the nation. And the sentiment so frequently of the attendees at the Trump rallies weren't
pro-Trump.
Young people supporting Trump. They were people, especially young males in red MAGA hats, that completely hated Hillary Clinton. They were the ones buying the lock her up and Hillary sucks, but not like Monica t-shirts.
Oh man, I tell you, the vendors at those rallies were just fantastic. Just making money hand over fist selling these terrible t-shirts and hats. But you're absolutely right. There was, in my impression, at least as many anti-Hillary folks going to watch the WWE event. It was entertainment, and it was, the first time they got to put their toe into the political realm. Hell, by going to a Trump rally and, making fun of Hillary Clinton and spending your money with the vendors, you were engaging in your civic duty. I think a lot of folks thought that way, especially the younger males that Crudy mentioned.
And what was the big campaign chants at the rallies?
Lock her up.
Build that wall and lock her up. That was the sentiment of the electorate. We didn't make that happen. It just happened. 844-967-2789. Let's get in our little conservative love muffin, Gary, quickly at the end here. Gary, welcome to the show. Welcome back.
Hey. Yeah, right. I took a hiatus for a little while. I got a question. What do you think of Howard Schultz and what he's going to be pulling?
I think he could divide the anti-Trump electorate. I don't think it's a good thing, not for the people of this fair nation, because I think another 4 years of Donald Trump would be disastrous, Gary, just like the last 2 years.
Gary, Crudy
Trump
thinks that Schultz gets elected. That means, or if Schultz runs as an independent, that means that Trump gets elected. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I don't think he's going to get that far. And I think the Democrats are going to convince him, for the good of the party, not to do this. And I think that they're going to have so much pressure on him because he is a lefty, progressive liberal, and he...
No, he's not! I would support him if he was a lefty, progressive liberal, Gary. That's the kind of president I want. And that's not what Howard Schultz is. That's not what Bloomberg is. And that's not what Hillary Clinton was. Folks, thank you for listening. We are the Devil's Advocates. We had some fine guests today. They included Matt Flynn, former Dem gubernatorial candidate, John Johnson, research fellow at Marquette Law School, Lubar Center. We thank them both. We thank you all for listening. Stay warm out there. We'll do it all again for you tomorrow on the radios. Devil's Advocates. We're outie.
Hey, what happened?
Devil's Triangle.
Hey, the Devil's Advocates here. Yeah, man. All right.
Ever worry that the anonymous millionaires are setting the agenda for our community with little or no accountability?